Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers, but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You see that time may change me. I can't trace time. Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers, but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't a shame when you left us up to our necks in it. Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You see that time may change me. I can't trace time. Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild. A million dead-end streets and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers. But I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You see that time may change me. I can't trace time. Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild. A million dead-end streets and every time I thought I God had made it seem the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers, but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You say that time may change me. I can't trace time. Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers, but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You see that time may change me. I can't trace time. Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers. But I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination, fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You see that time may change me. I can't trace time. Still don't know what I was waiting for, but time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers. but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. Turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You say that time may change me. I can't trace time.
Live.
Okay.
Well, sort of. There we go. All right. Well, hello, everybody. We got a 15-second lag. I timed it. So as we speak on the phone, everybody will get everything 15 seconds later. So let's try not to get ahead of the gang. And I have my double helping of cough medicine tonight. So we are good to go. I got my up-close glasses on, so I should be able to read the iPad. Well, hello, Glue Troopers, and welcome to another scintillating episode of Max's Models Livestream. It's alive! So, somebody lived in Korea for a while, or been watching a lot of K-pop. So, anywho, let's see. For start off with, guys, I guess we should talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And no, Ken, I don't mean me. We have Ken and Steve of Steve's Model Mania on the interweb with us. And
I didn't say a thing.
Yeah, you know better. Anyway, we'll start off with a couple of housekeeping chores. One, I got an email from a Glue Trooper who said he was looking for Steve's channel and couldn't find it. He doesn't actually have one. Steve's Model Mania is like your handle online, right?
He's talking to his wife.
Oh. Well, there are priorities in life.
Yeah, definitely got to talk to the wife when she wants to talk to you.
But he was just telling us he may start one because he's got a lot of cool stuff from his many years in the kit model. There, you back?
There he is.
So, Steve, we were talking about someone was looking for your channel. You don't have one yet, but are you going to call it Steve's Model Mania, or you think that sounds like a pretty good channel name?
He's still talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway.
Are you back? Are you back?
Okay. I don't think so.
Yeah. That's the handle that I have. Yeah, I'm going to start putting stuff up soon.
But that's the name you'll use for the channel? I mean, I think it's a cool name.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Steve was in business for a long time in the model business and model adjacent stuff. So he has got a lifetime worth of cool stuff and cool people to talk about. Max, Ken, and Steve, will this count as a Three Stooges? We were just doing the hello thing earlier. Hello. The losses of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Okay. Hi, Paul. Glad you're here. So, guys, I got Paul from New Zealand in here, and we're going to probably be talking about some of his stuff. In fact, I'll kick tonight's show off talking about a company called Sharp. I haven't done a history on them because there's not much to do. There's not much information on them. If you guys have ever built a model from Sharp, you'll know what I'm about to talk about. They made little race cars and things. They're not great. But Paul had done some research on them, so I'll be including them in a video at some point. Not to keep flogging the same dead horse, but that'll all happen after I am done with my current commitments. I got a lot of questions about the Tarbus, and yes, I did officially close it out today. The only thing I left behind was the table because I had dumped a bunch of epoxy on it, or the epoxy leaked out one day, and there wasn't. I mean, the table's not even level. So there was just nothing in there. It's sad. It was a good, sturdy kitchen table. But here is a photo I took last night, and that's pretty much how I left it. That's all that's there. That's it. She's as hollow as a lawyer's heart, or as a politician's promise. And let me just transform, fit the screen. But
I sent you an email, Max, with an interesting picture, by the way.
Okay, we'll get that later. So the video that I did last night wasn't planned. My wife just happened to be around so she could take the camera and do the video for me. But I promised you guys I would end it with Godzilla crushing it, and I made good.
And you did.
I did. Oops. And what I had took it.
Joe just sent a.
Yes.
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 Joe wants to know about Revell displays.
Okay.
Mike touched on that on one of his videos.
Yes, he did.
It was based upon how many kits you bought, and you got to build up in a cardboard display.
By the way, Ken, I think that ship might be the Olympia. That's a World War I era, or pre-World War I era
World War
dreadnought.
I, but it's not the Olympia.
It's not, okay, but they made a lot of ships. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, okay, about the displays, yes. You had the build-ups. Mike Mashat covered those in much more detail. And so, Steve, you were saying about how many that you mean the store got them if they sold so many models?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the store had to buy like 144 kits. And for 144 kits, you got a display.
Now,
and you got a build-up to put on it.
The build-ups, I've seen photographs of the Monogram factory where they just had a room full of ladies. They were made mostly by women. They were ladies sitting there building the models, and they had their groove going, all hand-painted and everything, but they got good through repetition and drill. And if you look at most of the build-ups, the builds are fine. I mean, they're not like modern-day award-winning fine, but they're certainly fine for the era and the time. You have to remember that the kit models in the 50s and 60s just were not as accurate as they are today. That's, a lot of companies like Aurora got by with highly inaccurate models for decades.
Yeah, it was nice because it generated a lot of traffic and sold a lot of kits. I
have no doubt that it sold a lot of kits. I can guarantee you, as a kid, heck, even as an adult, that probably would have made me want to buy them.
Well, if anybody who's interested in the displays goes on YouTube and looks at Phil Ceferano's video about his collection, he's got a ton of those displays.
Yeah, and in amazingly good condition. It's Ceperano, Ceprano, I think.
ERANO.
Yeah. If you have not seen Phil's videos, he just walks around his basement, his garage, which should be turned into I think it should be a museum. That place should be put on the historical registry.
He built that building. He did not have a place to put all the stuff as he started getting his collection huge, and he had a garage built. He's a plumber.
Yeah.
Or by contract. He had a garage built for his trucks and his, materials, and had them build the garage with a basement under it. And that's where his collection is.
Being that I just bought this for this very same purpose, a 30 by 12 with a 4-foot wide door, I can actually say he and I are sort of kindred spirits in that regard, because, it's funny. I was talking about this, I think earlier with you guys, but I even mentioned to my wife, and it sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. If it hadn't been for this channel, I probably wouldn't have bought this house.
Break it up, Matt.
If it hadn't been for this channel, I probably wouldn't have bought this house. I mean, the Tarbis 2 is an extension. All of this, either the need for a bigger place. When I first, when this channel first took off, I had 12 models in my stash. And the wife's like, I don't want to see you bringing home any more models until you build those. Okay, well, then, fair enough. And then the channel started up, and the incredible generosity of the Glue Troopers, stuff started coming. And now I think I have 350 kits here. They fill up a room and a half. I've got the closet, this office covered, just completely stacked. And she has her own stuff with her doll business, which, but she knew I'd wanted a bigger house anyway. But if it had not been for all of the things that have transpired in the past couple of years, which I never could have, in my wildest dreams, forecast, none of this would have come to pass. And so
all you troopers out there, if you want to send your contributions to the Build Max a Bigger Home and Shed, P.O. Box 27, Jacksonville, Florida.
That's not actually my address, guys. If you send it there, somebody's going to go, what?
It's probably Steve's.
We did have to get a P.O. box, though. We did. And I've already given you guys, anybody needs to send you the address to the P.O. box. That's not a problem. It's actually St. John's, Florida. We went, because our closest mail post office, of course, is not the one in our zip code. Anywho, so it's just, you never know where life's going to take you. But I can honestly say that kit model building, although it's something I've tried to do my whole life, it's had a much bigger impact in the past few years, perhaps outside of my formative years. I have no doubt that building models as a kid had a massive impact on the direction I took in life. The military, I joined the Army and the aviation and everything. These are interests I already have, but it kept them alive. When you think about it, it's like that McLaren I saw in traffic at Flagler yesterday. There's no way. The only way I'll ever own a McLaren is buy a model kit of one. But still, kits can keep your interest in something alive. And I found out my neighbor is a retired F-4 Phantom Rio. He retired a full colonel in the Marine Corps. He came in the Marine Corps. He was telling me about it when the Phantom was the new airplane, and he spent his whole career there. So he went through all the evolutions of it, of the ones the Corps used. And so he and I are going to get together with some beers at some point and look at some pictures. And I'm pretty sure that Good Morning Da Nang Edward kit I have, I'm probably going to put it in his markings. And if he has a place for it, I'll gift it to him when I'm done.
Garfield said 2 years you're going to need a new house and a shed.
Man, I can barely afford this one. Okay, since you brought that very point up, story time. While we were cleaning out everything today, I sort of had a little evil plan pop into my head, and as I'm prone to do, and I sort of hinted to the wife, the place now, they just got done cleaning it last night, so it's spotless on the inside. It's completely empty, except we still have to move the piano out, which is going to a family member. But I was like, I don't want to get into it because I know the story ends, but you guys do know that I am having some imperial entanglements with the Tarbis 2. I think they're going to all get worked out okay, but thinking worst case scenario, if for some reason it's not able to do what we want to do with it and it's got to be moved off site or something or whatever, I kind of hinted to my wife that, well, maybe instead of selling the old house, we could just make it the new Tarbis 3.0. And I was like, what the heck, when you're behind by 40 points and it's, and you got 2 strikes, just swing for the fence. And much to my surprise, her response was not as negative as I expected. So, mustache twirl. But of course, she said it with a wry smile, which translates into, yeah, that's not happening.
Aren't you glad you have a lot more rooms now in this new house?
Yeah, because I managed to fill them all up. It's amazing.
Just the 2 of them and a cat filled up a 4-bedroom house and a shed.
Well, but we have models. Which leads us into a segue for something else that Ken's all excited to talk about. Also in today's discussions with She Who Must Be Obeyed, I happened to make the comment that the old house had a window air conditioner that wasn't really needed. It was just to keep a family member happy. Point is that we brought that back with us, and we have that little shed. In fact, I don't know if you can see it in this picture. No, it's just out of view to the right. The one to the left is just a tool shed. The one to the right, we call it the bridge because when you open it up, there's a workstation with a chair on wheels that's red, and it looks a little kind of hint of the old Star Trek Enterprise bridge, so we started calling it the bridge. And it's a little 8.5 by 10 foot shed. It's got electric, but it doesn't have any AC. But this unit will fit in the window. And I told my wife, I said, well, you know what? If that's the case, we can put the window unit in that shed, and I could put the paint booth in there and make this entire building a dedicated paint booth. Which would you wear
a red shirt when you go in there?
Okay, somebody needs to quit yelling in the phone. But I said, if that happens, then there'll be more room in Tarbis 2.0 for other things like, shells and dioramas and a model railroad layout. And as soon as I said model, I tried to slip model railroad layout in there. Her ears perked. You could see the antenna go up. Her radar caught that like a B-52 flying with the gear down. And I thought I'd slide that one, but you are not going to believe what her response was. Ken?
Yes?
She said, and I quote, when I mentioned another model railroad layout, sometimes I worry about your mental health.
This is what she worries about your mental health about?
I was like, all the crap I've done, and that's what triggers a concern about my mental health?
Yeah, where does that leave me?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but I decided not to go there.
Because I can hear the bad influence comments now. Speaking of, William Wagner came up with an interesting comment. He says, "I'm married to the stash, and I've over the years, as my wife's complained about the stuff that I've got, I said, hey, look, when you married me, you married my stuff.
Yeah.
For a package deal.
Well, I think for a lot of, and I'm going to say spouses, because I think this goes both ways. What's that old joke about women marry men thinking they'll change or hoping they'll change, and men marry women hoping they'll never change. But I think there's a certain tug of war that takes place in any relationship about, how much kind of bring them to the dark side or bring them to the light or whatever. It's a very Sith Jedi sort of thing. But fortunately, the thing that I'm lucky about is since my wife does the dolls and she's an artist and everything, that she sort of understands the need for the crafty stuff. And by crafty, I mean arts and crafts, not crafty as in sly. But, I mean, actually, you got to remember that buying this jewel was her idea. And she wanted me to have a nice place to work. And, you know, that's... Oh, there it is. There you can see part of the bridge off to the right. That's the little shed that has power but no AC. And that's that. Now, with the window unit sticking out there and the paint booth and everything, that might become a dedicated paint shed. And that'd be cool because that would open up a little more space inside the TARDIS.
For model railroading.
Well, you see, I look at it like this. It's not a model railroad diorama. It is a large permanent diorama base on which I can take many photos that happens to have some live action features, such as moving trains.
There you go. Yeah, live action features. I like that. That's cool.
Let's go.
And how many times have we used the live action features of the Model Railroad Club layout?
Well, you know, Ken, I was going to bring my 16-inch Polar Lights Godzilla down to your railroad club to pose it for some photos, you know, and some video and stuff. But I think we should just wait till I get a nice big RC one so it can march around and eat trains and everything. And it just dawned on me. The only thing I ever saw Godzilla eat was a train.
I thought it was a subway.
Well, it's still a train.
True, but you know it's crunchy on the outside and chewy on the
middle. Just like an igloo. Good luck with that. But at some point, once the TARDIS is operational. Just as a side note, the contractor that's supposed to do the inside, put up the sheetrock and everything, of course, we had to put everything on hold. This is all permitting stuff. I swear to God, I'll tell you guys the whole story once it's over. I don't want to. One reason I don't want to say anything is you never know who's watching. The last thing I need is somebody, city official, to take offense.
Building inspector?
Yeah. Hey, the guy who...
Garfield says your backyard's got its own zip code.
Just about. We did get a nice backyard.
Ken, that's at the holidays next year. That's going to be Santa's Village.
I've heard worse ideas. But there was something that actually the house inspector, not the city inspector, but the guy who inspects homes for the buyers, turns out he used to be the local IPMS president. He's seen the show. His name's Ray. He's a good guy. He's a great house inspector. We've used him several times. So, but yeah, you got to be careful, you know, and I don't know how it's going to end yet. I don't want to do anything that's going to cause any issues. I just want to get get it finished. Right now we're waiting on some anchor bolts. Apparently they're back ordered, and get it we're still waiting on permit approvals and site inspections and everything else. Every county has its own rules. So if you decide to build your own shed, educate yourself first, because I got a real education local zoning rules that I didn't really want. And I learned what a non-access easement is, but I offer too much. But
put a railroad in TARDIS too and call it material transport.
But you just gave me an idea, Ken.
Godzilla bait. That's what it is.
Well, the way I see it is, if I do put a model railroad layout, and Godzilla's going to live there. All the Godzilla are just going to live there. It's going to be Godzilla land. You know, which gives me a perfect excuse to put all my model tanks there. And that means that I can put them further and further away and do a forced perspective. And Ken, I just had a thought, which is a dangerous thing, something I should not do. We could have, if it's a 4x8, we could have the end that's closest to the door be HO, and it can go into the tunnel and have the exact same train in N scale further down coming out of the tunnel, so I can have the big Godzilla up close and little Godzilla's far away, and do a forced perspective thing. So as one train, as the HO disappears in the tunnel, the N scale would come out the other side.
Well, since the thing is 12 feet wide, just make the layout 12 feet long. You're not going to do anything with that extra 4 feet down there anyway.
Oh, now you know how fast something, an interior space, runs out of room. Mm-hmm. Of course, if I do move the paint stuff into the bridge, then that would create a lot of extra space, which we'll see. And if I come home and the guys with the butterfly nets are waiting on me, I'm like, you guys like model trains?
You know what you're really missing out there?
Hmm.
A giant Godzilla statue.
Don't tempt me. We don't have an HOA. That's one of the reasons I bought here. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing to stop me from doing something just that foolish, except for my better half.
You could have Godzilla on the ground and Rodan on the roof. With possibilities. With King Ghidorah on the paint booth. You could have your own destroy all monsters in the backyard.
Oh, all I have to do is let the cat run after the squirrels, and that happens. Oh! Speaking of which, real quick honey story for you, cat story. You guys, you don't have to love cats to love this story. Because Honey, she's a sweet pet, but cats are, the curiosity killed the cat almost came true today. We have one of those, here in the new house, one of those drawers that you pull out and it has two trash bins, one for trash and one for recycle, which in my case just means we have two trash bins. And when you pull it all the way out, there's maybe that much gap between the second trash bin and the wall. So I pull it all the way out, I put some trash in, and I leave, and I come back and I see it, and I shut it. And about 30 seconds later, I hear a very loud series of meowing. But I can't find the cat. And I'm zeroing in on the sound, but I'm like, where is she? We're literally open drawers looking for her. I'm like, wait a minute. I pull the trash, and sure enough, she comes bolting out from behind there. She got through a gap about that wide, and because, cats love confined dark spaces. And I was sitting there like, this thing doesn't want to close. But, okay, cat, let that be a lesson to you. So anyway.
Rhonda Farico is offering you an already built layout.
Thanks, Fran, but half the fun is in building it. And I'm going to have a little bunker for the tanks, like in King Kong vs. Godzilla when they're shooting at him, he's coming in. I think that is one of the best scenes in the early Godzilla franchises, where he's coming through the water towards the military base and the tanks come out. Now, of course, when you see them up close, you can tell they're little toys. But when I was a kid, the idea that the tanks ran into the run away, and they went in the underground bunker and the door shut behind them, and I'm like, man, every base should have an undermountain bunker like that, But I thought that was just the coolest thing, and but. The reason tanks are useless against Godzilla is simple. He's 100 freaking meters tall. To him, a cannon round's about the size of a BB. So, anywho. Now, on to the next thing. Take my sophisticated marker and my back of the envelope notes here and check off model railroad. Oh, there was one thing on model railroads. I have a plastic kit model railroad that was gifted to me that I was going to do as a road build, but it turned out to be too complex. But I was talking to Ken about turning a kit model into actual rolling stock. I figured it was too delicate, and you agreed with that, right, Ken?
Oh, yeah, that would be way too much work. Not worth it. Unless you wanted the challenge.
Well, I think a lot of guys do it for just that reason, but I suppose it would be okay if you were going to put it on a siding just as a piece of set decoration.
Yeah. If you wanted, you could kind of take some pieces off of it and make it look like it's being, it's been junked or just left there to rot.
Yeah.
Rust color.
Wood stove with those, bro. Yeah. So the other thing I was going to talk about was, I got it right here, Matt, this is...
Frizz's model cars is an N-scaler. All right, well, I won't hold that against you.
Oh, God, and we're off. You guys may or may not recognize this picture. That is on the left, Irvine, sorry. And, of course, in the middle is Nick Argento, who runs Glencoe, and on the right is our late friend Andy Anchus, without whom there would be no Aurora Files videos. And I forget when this photo was taken. I'm going to say probably in the 80s or 90s. But Anyway, on the left, the famous BBC model builder, Matt Irvine. And I have had the distinct pleasure of exchanging emails with him recently. And most people think of Matt because of K9, right? From Doctor Who. And he is frequently credited with having created K9. But, okay, somebody's making a bunch of, okay, I'm going to mute you guys. Something is making a lot of racket to the microphone.
Not me.
So, it's weird what the microphone will pick up. So, Matt corrected me on this, and I wanted to read an email, part of the email that he sent me, and where to put my other glasses and everything, other things you want to hear your pilot say. Okay. Let's see. He was making. He sent me a bunch of corrections.
That and the pilot saying, "Oops."
Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, there is. I'm gonna attach the link here. There is a video by Delta V Productions. It's a 45-minute interview with Matt that was done fairly recently. I'll put the link in. I highly recommend you go see. You can probably just put in Matt Irvine interview, Matt with one T. But it is he everything I covered in my history of models video he did right off the cuff in an interview, and he also showed his personal collection, and he tells a lot of cool stories about doing special effects to the BBC and all this other stuff. But here's what he said when I talked about people think when I'd said in the video that he built K9 for the Doctor Who. So he goes, okay, here's his response. Okay, I hadn't seen, but sorry, another misconception. I didn't actually design or initially build K9, though, okay, have had a lot to do with him since then. I did redesign the mechanics and radio control. The first was extremely basic. And I suppose I did design the Mark III version, which he's been since 1981. So by far the longest stretch. But that was really purely the color and few details. The main design came from my FX colleague, Tony Harding, way back in 1977. And when I sent him this picture, he says, and they assumed that was a Tom Baker era. Nope, it was more recent BBC educational series K9 introduced. I think I was showing this picture. He goes, I was amused when someone commented, "Wow, that picture's old," of him sitting here, with his feet up on K9. But actually, that picture's
pretty old.
But it's not that old. That's not. He said that's not from the Tom Baker era. They assumed it was Tom Baker.
Probably about 10, it's at least 10 years old.
Oh, maybe that, but a lot of people thought it went back to like the 80s or something. But that picture was for a BBC educational series K9 introduced. But come to think of it, here he goes, Ken. It still makes it 30 years old. It was 1993. Okay.
Okay, all right. Because looking at that radio, that's an old style radio.
Yeah, it's got the telescoping antenna. For those who don't know, who didn't do RC in the old days, and Ken's an expert on this, well, at least compared to me, the old RCs before digital, you could, Ken, if I'm not mistaken, you could end up flying somebody else's airplane.
I've done it. That was not pleasant. Although the guy did comment, say, "I didn't know my airplane could do that."
Okay, well, that was I'm sitting here I'm reading a copy of the email I sent him. I have really got to start using word spell check or something.
I will. Model Cars had a good idea. I agree with. He says you can use G-scale model railroad from your kitchen to the Tarbus, and you put cold beer and food on it.
We used to have restaurants like that.
You really? Well, I've been to sushi restaurants that did. They came around on a train.
Yeah.
And that's.
They used to have hamburger places in New York.
Well,
and it would come out on the inside perimeter of the counter. Deliver your hamburger on a train, on a flat car.
Great idea.
Yeah.
okay, I
Why
used to
they're not in
go.
business anymore.
I used to go to a place up in Presque Isle, Maine called Governor's, which is a great restaurant. I don't know if it's still around. Probably closed, but it was they had a train that went around near the roof line the whole time you were eating, and it was like on their menu and stuff. And okay,
Yeah, that's pretty common.
okay, it's called the documentary with Matt is called The Miniature World of Matt Irvine. It's by Delta V Media. I can't believe this has been up almost a year and only has 438 views. That's a crime. You guys all need to go watch that. I'm copying the link. Copy. Let's see if I can paste it into the. You know what? Maybe I better wait until we're done. I'm always afraid when I start screwing around here, I'm going to wind up, cutting off the live stream somehow. But you can just put the Miniature World of Matt Irvine in YouTube, and I'm sure it'll take you right to it. I put Matt Irvine documentary, it took it right to it. He's a really interesting guy, a great model builder. He talks about a lot of the tricks and some of the stuff, and he actually built a model for a movie that he wrote the script for that he's never got the funding for. Now I'm kind of halfway thinking, I wonder if we could crowdsource, some funding, get him some money, and because he's a super creative and very intelligent guy. By the way, quick note, some of you probably know this if you're Matt Irvine fans, he was actually originally training to be a veterinarian. And he talks about this, and so I'm not giving away any, family secrets or anything. But he also has a science background. And I love it when you're dealing with people that have a science background, because they get away from the fantasy element and keep it a little more grounded in what might actually could be. And that sort of brings us to something I wanted to ask you guys. And I've talked to Nick on the phone a couple of times, gotten a lot of emails. I've emailed with Matt, and of course talked with Andy. So I've had an association with all three of these guys, but have yet to personally meet any of them. Sadly, I won't get to because Andy passed away. By the way, quick note. You will see Andy is holding the Lindbergh, and this time I'm going to get it right, the Lindbergh UFO model. You guys have probably heard supposedly the worst movie ever made was Plan 9 from Outer Space. And everybody talks about how Ed Wood was using hubcaps for UFOs and it was propagated in the Johnny Depp movie. No, actually he was using the Lindbergh UFO models. He took the engines off of them so he could spin them. But one of them still exists in a private collection today. So it's good to know that one of them's still around. In fact, I think Matt was telling me who had it. Let me get back to the email here. Bob Burns' collection. Yes, Bob Burns has apparently one of the real models that was used in the worst movie ever made, Plan 9 from Outer Space. I actually saw a trailer online. They were talking about remaking it, but with real movie quality. There are a lot of old movies that would be great for remakes, because they didn't have the technology to make them very good. Conquest of Space, there's just so many. And given that Hollywood's always into redoing stuff and half of it's the public domain, there's a lot of stuff out there that's going untouched that could be done.
They did remake it.
They did?
Which one?
Yeah, it was a little bit off the story, but the same story, but it was a remake, but it wasn't like an official remake. It's on, I think it's on, Amazon.
Well, I'm glad. I saw the trailer, and it actually looked pretty good, which is things you rarely hear associated. Huh?
I watched it. It wasn't that bad.
Good. A little tribute to Ed Wood. I know Ed Wood made a lot of crappy movies, but I still respect the guy because he was a true independent back in the day of the Hollywood system. And I made myself watch Plan 9 from Outer Space from beginning to end. And saying it is bad, I'm going to tell you right now, yeah, it's a bad movie, but I have seen worse from real studios. So bad is a relative thing.
Look, bad for the time it was made, maybe not so much.
If I'm going to tell you right now, I know the movie I'd remake. If somebody said, here's the money. Hold on, let me turn the camera back on so you guys can see my face for radio. I would remake Bamboo Saucer. Come on.
Okay.
Think about it.
That's a classic.
Sure. Think about it. Hold on. Let's look at what Bamboo Saucer has. F-104s, P-51s, flying saucers, Americans working with Russians to shoot up commie Chinese Chi-Coms. Come on. What more could you want? I think it was Dan Derrida's last movie.
Dubbed with English?
No. That was an American movie.
And here I thought he was going to say The Giant Claw.
Actually,
or some Godzilla movie.
Absolutely, JM. I would absolutely do the green slime. Caught the joke there, Ken. No, actually, you know what? The green slime, Planet Vampire, and a bunch of these movies with vampires on space stations are all kind of the same movie. But when you get right down to it, and stay with me on this, the green slime is not it's not a bad movie. I mean, I get it. It's got a lot of hokiness between the Japanese and Italian and everything. It kind of had that. But story-wise, the idea of guys going onto an asteroid, bringing back something that mutates, I mean, it's basically the thing. And the thing was remade recently in a movie that a lot of people didn't associate with it. That was The Hateful Eight. And if you watch The Hateful Eight and the original movie of James Arness, The Thing, or The Thing from Outer Space, you realize these are effectively the same movie, more or less. You know, stuck in a place trapped by the snow and the ice with a mysterious creature killing everybody off and yada, yada, yada. You know, the trapped with a monster. The green slime, which still just, God bless them. They were trying so hard to work with what they had. I mean, the actors were taking it serious. And I hate to say this because I really like the old actor Richard Jekyll. But let's be honest. You see Richard Jekyll in a movie, you're not expecting a lot. I hate to say that. But though, although he did play an interesting character when he was like 17 or 18 years old, I think the movie wasn't Task Force. I forget the name of it.
He was always good in military movies.
Yeah. The Dirty Dozen was probably his best film, and he played a young kid in the Navy in one of the early wartime Navy movies. I forget the name. I think it had Don Amici, but he plays like this underage kid who got into the Navy and he's afraid they'll find out he's underage. But
he was in Walking Tall.
Well, it was the second Walking Tall, wasn't it? Yeah. I remember I was just thinking about that yesterday. A scene where old what's his name? The second guy to play
Joe Don Baker.
No. The second guy to play Puss, or the other one, the big tall blonde guy.
I know who you mean.
Bo Svensson is tearing his Camaro apart. I'm like, oh come on, the doors and trunk don't come off a Camaro that easy.
How about when you're Buford Pusser?
Now there's your model to make Richard Jekyll's Camaro from Walking Tall, have Buford tearing it apart.
Hey, how about Barbarella in space?
Oh my God, I would so do that in a heartbeat. And you know who I'd get to play Barbarella just to stick it to Hanoi Jane? Take a guess. Take a guess.
No, I like the green slime. You had Luciana Paluzzi, who was Fiona Volpe in Thunderball.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but God, somebody's got something going on in the background that's piercing through the... do one of you have the TV on or something, or the volume turned up?
Not me.
There's something...
only one other person it could be.
Steve. Anyway. But I think that her... how do you say... Luciana Paluzzi? How do you say her name?
Luciana Paluzzi.
Yeah. I think she's the character that Leo DiCaprio's Italian wife in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood might have been based on.
I don't know.
But anyway, no, if I was going to remake Barbarella, I would cast Gina Carano.
I would pay to see that in a heartbeat.
Oh, that would make Hanoi Jane squirm.
I don't know. I'd kind of like to see Anna de Armas do it.
I could live with that.
Claire Ravenwood agrees with us. Barbarella.
Okay, well, we'll combine the two. Barbarella meets the green slime. No, but the green slime is the movie to remake. The one movie that is better than it had any right to be. I remember seeing it 3 times as a kid on Sunday afternoon TV, and every time it was on, I would sit through the whole thing, and that was their giant tarantula. When you look at that movie was actually a surprisingly intelligent film with way more plot line and character development than you normally get out of these 50s monster flicks. And
Mara Corday, Leo G. Carroll, and John Agar.
John Agar. I mean, Agar's a pilot. He's flying a general aviation airplane. But I mean, that movie was so good that it made it into the lyrics of the opening of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's
Leo
true.
G. Carroll was over a barrel when Tarantula took to the hills. And I really got hot when I saw Jeanette Scott fight the Triffids.
Beams out of its mouth?
What?
No, it didn't shoot laser beams out of its mouth.
Ken, it was a 100-foot diameter tarantula. It didn't need laser beams. But what I love is how they took care of it. Napalm!
I'm trying to remember, because I remember as a kid seeing that movie.
And who dropped the napalm?
Clint Eastwood!
That's right.
For those who don't know, the movie Tarantula was one of Clint Eastwood's early roles. He plays the lead fighter pilot. You never see his whole face because he's got the oxygen mask on. And, of course, that movie does use stock footage of the aircraft, but so they keep morphing like they did. And then another great movie, Giant Mantis or Deadly Mantis, another one that was better than it had any right to be. Some of these movies are really coherent. But Eastwood, he had a great line in that. They keep making strikes with napalm on the tarantula and missing. And you see him like roll his eyes and goes, "Come on, guys, let's hit it this time." I'm like, that's right, Clint. Shame those boys into some accuracy.
He had a very small role in another science fiction movie too. Anybody remember that one?
Well, he actually had bit parts in several movies. He played a co-pilot of an air-sea rescue airplane when all you see him was talk on the radio for about 5 seconds when some airliners going down.
In this one he was a scientist.
Tell me and I might remember it, but I'm not.
Steve?
I'm thinking, was it the one with the octopus, the giant octopus?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I didn't know Clint Eastwood was in that.
Mm-hmm.
The original or one of the knockoffs?
No. One of the original. Well, I don't know how old it was, but from my understanding, it was the original one.
When was the original Creature from the Black Lagoon made?
Like 55, 56.
Well, it could have been him. By the way, guys, here's a little Clint Eastwood trivia for you. He was in, I think it was...
Creature of the Black... Jam got it.
Okay, good on you, JM. Score. Point. So Eastwood was a swimming instructor in the Army. And around the time of the Korean War. He was... The history, not the history guy, Paul Harvey, I think, covered this. But anyway, he was trying to get back to his unit, or he'd be AWOL, and the only ride he could get, I think, was on a Sky Raider. And because some of them were used as hacks, once they quit using them as attack aircraft, the Sky Raider was so big they put 3 or 4 seats down in the fuselage, and they would use them to move people around. I mean, they had the equipment on hand. So anyway, as I understand the story, some people know the basic story, but not the details. Eastwood was trying to get back to his base in Alameda or wherever it was, and there was no flights going. There was a lot of fog and everything, and there was a pilot who was taking one of these. I think it was a Sky Raider back, and he said, "Well, look, kid, you can go with me if you want, but you got to ride down in the fuselage and the seats." And I thought, great, he was happy to have the ride. Well, they got out, and I think the field was too fogged in to get in. And the pilot was out there orbiting, and then the weather wasn't clear, and they were going to begin. They wound up running out of gas, so they ditched the airplane in the ocean just offshore. Both of them got out, but they got separated. Well, the pilot got apparently attacked by a swarm of jellyfish and got stung to the point that he couldn't move, and he drowned. Eastwood swam the couple of miles to shore because he was a swimming instructor. And so That's
this was for real.
This is for real. This is before he was an actor. And I knew he'd gone down in an airplane off the coast of California, but I only recently stumbled onto what happened when I was listening. I think it was an episode of Paul Harvey or something. For those of us who are old enough to remember Paul Harvey, which is probably most of this crowd.
Ooh, Dark Star.
And now for the rest of the story.
So poorly done in the beginning. It's like it was still inside of a shipping container.
Dark Star's missiles look like, as my older brother's buddy Doyle Pope said, they look like freight cars with the wheels taken off, because they probably took some HO scale models and took the bottoms off of them. You know, hey, wasn't it like
movie had an interesting plot? But
there's a movie you could remake, Dark Star.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Which I love the psychotic beach ball. Wasn't that Spielberg's
that was
like
Alien.
wasn't it like Spielberg's student film?
PHX 1138. No, that was George Lucas.
Lucas. I knew it was one of the guys. You know, you got to start somewhere. Well, think about this, guys. Just on the bizarre off chance that when Steve and I and Ian and everybody finally get around to making a couple of pilot episodes of Model Citizens, and if it does somehow be like Letterkenny, which is rapidly becoming my favorite Canadian comedy, if somehow it takes off, you can all say, "Hey, we knew them when." You know, we were glue troopers before it was the cool thing to do.
There you go.
But the guy who started Letterkenny, I saw an interview with him, you know, and he's actually a very articulate, intelligent fellow, even though he plays a dunce. But that's acting. I mean, think about it. Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, was actually a serious actor. So was Don Knotts. He was actually very neurotic about his acting. And these people that we love, that we've built models of their vehicles and stuff, you know, that's what I need. I need a model of the Mayberry police car. But
Yeah.
But you know, we poke fun at you, and a model of the SS Minnow. Why has no one made a model of the SS Minnow, the boat from Gilligan's Island? There's a golden opportunity in kit modeling, and I'll bet a close enough model kit from probably the old Revell kits or Monogram kits probably exists. You could modify the mold. Tell Rick and Pete that.
Chris Craft. I think that's an old Chris Craft. There's models of those around. Yeah, and put a hole inside of it.
Don't Rick and Pete have the molds for a model of that?
Yeah, I think they do.
Just saying.
They have the old Revell Chris Craft.
You know, a few little changes. Put a little Gilligan and Skipper character there.
You'd have to include the figures.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but what is that? $9,000 to cut the molds for that?
For the figures, problem. Yeah.
Heck, you could probably find some that already exist and just modify them.
Then you could have your ultimate Ginger versus Marianne dichotomy.
Don't get me started on that, or we will be here all night. Okay.
You're right, Garfield.
Too late.
That's exactly it.
What'd he say?
Clint Eastwood played a lab tech with a mouse in his pocket in The Revenge of the... Well, actually, it's The Creature of the Black Lagoon, not Revenge.
Are you sure?
I think.
No,
I'm not sure. I know it was a creature movie. I might be wrong about the title.
Okay.
Wait, let me look it up while you're talking.
Yes. You do the research while we carry the weight of dealing with our viewership. That's fine. That works.
JM says 3 boats represented the minnow. Well, they changed the boat?
Yeah, actually they did. You got to remember, it was just a studio prop. I mean, the one that's seen in the water is completely different than the one seen on shore. That was a model.
Huh.
Well,
And
most likely the one they already had on the shelf, although I don't know which one. Okay, guys, I'm not going to hold you to this, but since
it was Revenge of the Creature.
Ha!
It was Revenge.
I didn't think Clint
right.
would have been in the original. I can't believe I wouldn't have known that. Actually, yes, I can, but still, it would have been embarrassing. So, guys, just real quick.
Claire makes a good point. Can't believe the professor couldn't come up with all sorts of... He could come up with
He could build a radio out of coconuts, but he couldn't fix a hole in a boat.
Everybody always said that. He could make radios. He could make, communication devices. He could make all kinds of machinery. He couldn't fix a hole in a boat.
Yeah. What cracked me up is
Never thought of that.
my
That's
brother.
probably because he was spending too much time choosing between Ginger and Marianne.
Which brings us to the next point. Since you brought that up, guys, if you feel so inclined, we'll hold a vote. You just write Ginger or Marianne, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm Team Marianne. Okay? Just saying. Steve?
Well, it's certainly not going to be Mrs. Howe, but
No kidding.
She's got taken anyway.
I would go. I would have to go with Marianne.
Ken? Ken?
Yeah, Marianne.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not much one for prissy
Ginger was
divas.
just too glamorous.
Yeah, where did she get all that makeup, on the boat?
Marianne. Okay,
All
Ricky
those
says
years,
Marianne.
too.
Marianne,
Makeup doesn't last
Marianne.
very long.
What was that?
Ginger.
Max?
We have 7 Mariannes and 1 Ginger. 8 Mariannes and 1 Ginger. 9 Mariannes and 1 Ginger. God, I can't. 10, 11. I think we have a winner, guys.
This is less maintenance.
Right.
I mean, this is
Oh my
beyond
God,
a
it's
slam
Marianne
dunk.
landslide.
Okay. The sad part is Tina Louise is the only surviving cast member. She's probably watching this crying. Come on, somebody
Yeah,
give
sure,
Mary,
she's not
somebody give
involved,
Ginger a
so,
sympathy vote here.
Ricky never
Never
seen.
seen Gilligan's Island?
Holy cow! Are you missing something significantly social
Did you
there?
not have a TV growing up?
Saying I did not see okay. Since you said that, I'm going to make a real quick observation here. You guys remember the comedian Bobcat Goldthwait?
Yes.
Still getting Marianne's.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, come on. By the way, how many of you guys knew that Dawn Wells, who played Marianne, was Miss Nevada 1961? Aha.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I didn't know that.
I did because my brother has the book here on Gilligan's Isle written by the late Russell Johnson, the professor, and he went into all that. And they actually made a really
Your
good...
brother was a judge.
Huh?
I thought you were going to say your brother was a judge for the Miss America Cup.
No. God. He would have been 3 years old when... But,
Speaking of the professor, how many sci-fi horror movies from the 50s was he in?
oh, This Island Earth.
Under Earth?
Was it The Outer Limits, where the old cowboy comes through time and he is the professor that did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's usually playing Brainiac.
That's Twilight Zone.
But he actually played a hoodlum in one of his first roles, because he talks about his early acting career. By the way, quick side note, guys, Russell Johnson, who played the professor, was a navigator on a B-25 in World War II in the Pacific. Now, they were the gun nose models, so the navigator was in the back of the airplane. He also doubled as a waist gunner, and they were shot down on an attack on a Japanese island. The Japanese had 40-millimeter anti-aircraft guns that hit both engines. They managed to get out to sea and ditched in the ocean. They hit so hard he broke both of his ankles. But the whole crew managed to swim out of the airplane. The pilot did a good enough job that they were all able to get out. The Japanese sent K-15 barges, those armored barges they had after them, about 3 of them, to go pick them up because they wanted to torture themselves from American airmen. But 100 miles away, they had a PBY called Dumbo on a rescue, flying basically a holding pattern in case a crew went down. He said when they went down and they came bobbing out of the water, their squadron started what you might call a Luftberry circle, flying around them, a protective ring. And when those barges came out, which, by the way, were heavily armed and highly armored, they could take a PT boat, and occasionally did. Because I read a book about PT boats where the PT boats were talking about fighting these barges. The Japanese, they weren't as fast as a PT boat, but they were armored. They're basically a floating tank versus a PT boat, which was a speed demon, but plywood. Anyway.
Okay, Captain Tangent.
Sorry. Yeah, sailed off on a tangent there. There's just not the model. Model one is Jap barges and a PT boat going at it. Anyway, the B-25s they said they sent 3 barges after him, and he knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to capture him, and they wanted to torture him. All right? And in some cases, I kid you not, maybe eat them. Read the book Flyboys. I'm not exaggerating.
That's something I didn't want to know about.
Yeah, TMI maybe. TMI. TMIM. Too much information, Max.
Yeah, I did.
Hey,
Okay.
You watch this live stream, you take the ride. Anyway, so his unit, the other guys from B-25 from his squadron were circling them. They saw the barges come out. Now, mind you, these were gun nose models with all 50 calibers and stuff in them, and they lit those barges up. And they turned around and, spewing black smoke, headed limped back into port. Like, you know what? We'll leave these guys alone. Now, the PBY was in a holding pattern about 100 miles away where it was safe, but a Catalina only goes about 110 miles an hour, 120. So it took him a good 45 minutes or an hour for the Catalina to get there, but his squadron just orbited him. And I was like, come on out. Come on. You want to play? We'll deal with you. And Warriors come out to play. And so they pretty much treaded water and worried about sharks until the Catalina landed and fished them out. And he'd broken both ankles. So they fly them all back. Everybody gets back. I think the whole crew got out. The advantage of not having anybody in the nose during a water ditching. But he said he was laying in the hospital bed with both legs in a cast and everything. And this officer and his flunky come in, and they're just going up and reading the names on the beds. Sergeant so-and-so, Air Medal Distinguished Flying Cross, blah, blah, and taking the medals out of a stack of them and just handing them to the guys. And he goes, in my case, Johnson Russell, Second Lieutenant, U.S. Army Air Forces, Purple Heart for being injured in battle. And he tosses the medal in the box, which he said hit him on the belly and slid up under his chin, and that's how he was awarded his Purple Heart.
Well, better than posthumously.
True. And that brings up a question. Is it posthumous
really...
or posthumous? Anyway. So there's your TMI for the night. We went down that rabbit hole and had a grand time doing it. I don't know about you, but I enjoyed it. It was good for me. Oh, God, did I really just say that?
You did.
Yeah.
We all heard
Together it. Now, boys!
Time for more cough medicine.
You can't unhear.
I'm almost out of cough medicine. And I gave myself a double dose just in case. Wow. Cough medicine is weaker than I remember.
That's probably why they're going down so many tangents.
Come
More
on.
than usual.
Be honest. The more I drink, the funnier I get. At least I think so. Okay.
Only to you.
What?
Nothing.
He didn't say anything.
Now. Come on. We're having a good time.
Yes, we
So
are.
far.
No.
Look. At
Why
time,
do we do this? It's not for the money.
yeah, because you know what?
By the way, I want to raise.
I'm going to triple everybody's pay here. Ken, you're now making 3 times. If you guys remember that old Muppet Show Fozzie Bear episode where his agent gets him 4 times as much, and if they got used, I make nothing. The beauty of this place is we can talk about things like I Dream of Jeannie, Get Smart, Gilligan's Island, and the Muppet Show, and for the most part, everybody gets the joke. But Faulty Towers, and the Faulty Towers, the episode with the Germans, has become a legend. I mean, I was watching. I have seen.
Claire just brought that up.
No, that's why I brought it up was because Claire said it, and I'm like, the sad part. Okay, God, I promised I wouldn't go here, but okay. And you know what?
Do it anyway.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Well, you win the bet, Ken.
This is a happy place. I'm not going to do it.
This is like the Disney World of the internet.
Wow. That may be the best compliment I've ever gotten. SCTV, Second City Television, yeah. Oh, God. Even I used to watch that in reruns, of course. That's something where John Candy and Dave Foley, that's the guy I was trying to remember from the last episode.
We could redo this as SCTV. You could be Johnny LaRue. Ken could be, what the heck was Joe Flaherty's character?
Somebody can
Sheldon.
tell you.
Yeah, we could do this. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, John Candy is my spirit animal. To the point that within my family, at my sister's place, I'm known as Uncle Buck.
No resemblance.
A badge
None
of
whatsoever.
honor. My favorite line in that movie, which has many great lines, and John Candy, God bless that guy, he was great. And by all accounts, from what I understand, a really genuinely great guy.
He was a nice guy, according to everybody who worked with him.
If ever I should somehow, for some mysterious reason, become genuinely famous, not infamous, mind you. Well, I'll take infamous too.
It could work either way.
Yeah. My goal in life, as one of my favorite comedians, Gabriel Iglesias, says, is to never become a jerk. You know, if you guys are familiar with the Fluffy Guy, the comedian Gabriel Iglesias goes by the Fluffy Guy.
Yep.
The reason I don't say Mexican American is because he's an American. And he, like he said, he went to the Middle East. They introduced him as the American. He goes, great. And Carlos Mencia, by the way, made the same observation. I met Carlos very briefly at one of his shows. And he was like, he says, you know, I had to go all the way to the Middle East to become the American comedian. Or here, I'm the Mexican American. So I always call him just the, you know, anyway, you get my point. But he always said, if you see him out in public and you want a photograph or selfie with him, by all means, approach him. I love the fact that the guy tries to keep himself grounded. And to me, that's very important. And I got to be honest, when I go to one of the like Modelpalooza or JaxCon and people recognize me, I'll admit I'm thrilled. It's just not because the ego stroke or anything. I'm just happy that people are enjoying what we do here. And I say we because it ain't me, it's us. Me is just a guy sitting in a room by himself talking into a camera. This is us.
With cough medicine.
With cough medicine, which is running out. Look.
By the way, several years ago, Max also reminded me of another movie character, too, named Sullivan.
Sullivan?
Not ringing the bell.
Blue Harry with horns.
Oh, Sully.
Oh, Sully.
In Monsters,
Oh, Sully. Yeah, John Goodman, another great actor, who I think is a little underrated. John Goodman is my favorite movie with him because it's got airplanes, of course, is Always, which is a remake of the old movie A Guy Named Joe, which is another favorite movie of mine. And yeah, I could see that. I mean, me, John Goodman, and the late John Candy, we'd have made a hell of a trio. We could have been the Three Stooges.
Hey,
but
one thing
Without the finger pointing.
You guys would have put a hell of a dent in a buffet.
okay. I got the wrong glass. God, I got to keep switching glasses. Hold on. Everybody
Drinking out of
Drinking or shooting?
No. No, it's
Now,
Michael.
Speaking of grounded celebrities, you know who's supposed to be the world's biggest jerk?
I heard Jerry Lewis. And
Kevin James.
who?
The guy who plays the King of Queens.
Kevin James? Oh, Kevin. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If he goes to a store to shop, he has his entourage go in and tell everybody to leave the store.
Yeah. Do the initials FH mean anything? Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Where was it? I just blah 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 blah. It's getting Claire Club. Oh crap! It's getting away faster than I can. Michael Smith Jr. John Candy is excellent in movie Stripes. Okay, I have a John Candy link. Yes, I have a link to John Candy. Let me explain. In the movie Stripes, that was filmed at Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is where I went through basic training in the Army. That movie was shot only a couple of years later. I wore the same OD green uniforms, everything that you see Bill Murray and those guys were. All of that was shot at Fort Knox. That NDOC Center, the reception center, they go into at the beginning where he goes, where's the mess hall, Eisenhower? Okay, that is the very reception center that I entered the U.S. Army in, only about a year before that movie was made. And if you look in the background, you'll see a rack of telephone booths back when they actually had telephone booths. Okay, that is where I went to call my family to tell them how things were going. So I have a direct John Candy connection, and I basically was the John Candy of my unit.
Ken, didn't you see the plaque?
I did.
Plaque?
I was there.
The one that said Max was there. When they
Steve, that was not a plaque. That was an old arrest warrant, but we won't go there.
he slept in the same bed as Dewey Oxberger.
Maybe a wanted poster.
Mr. Vegas.
No, it's my hit with the reserve booth at Denny's. Was that the one you're talking about? Where Travolta has the reserve booth at Denny's?
No. When in Stripes, he played Dewey Oxberger. Remember, he's teaching the guy how to play cards, and he goes, I'd go for it if I were you. Let's see, you got two. I'd go for it. You got three.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let me look at your cards. Well, I'd go for you.
Yeah.
By the way,
You lost.
who was he talking to? Who was the actor he was talking to, and what character later made him famous?
He's the guy from Miami Vice.
John Deal. Yes.
He played Zito.
Zito, very good. He also he was also later in. He was also.
No, they didn't, but they made a Hot Wheel car of it.
But he was, he was also later in Stargate. So
what's Max talking about?
John Deal was later in Stargate. He's actually one of those actors that's been in a lot of things. He played Zito. That's what the role that kind of made him famous. But somebody earlier just made the comment about Max is our big toe. You better get your act together before Sergeant Hulk shoves his big toe up your ass.
I've used at work when I've been, why aren't you doing something? I've used the line from the movie, I'm pacing myself.
The best line, Warren Oates.
The same response, like a blank, I don't know if I should yell at you or just walk away. No.
The best line that Warren Oates had in Stripes was, "Well, Wigger, let me take my hat off." That was actually shot in one of our old one of the old wooden barracks there. That was a standard issue World War II vintage Army latrine with six urinals and 6 stalls with no doors. There was no privacy.
And it probably smelled like it did from World War II.
Nope, we kept those places spotless. But the
question is, was any of you assigned to be the PLO?
The permanent latrine orderly from No Time for Sarge. You don't get me that easy, Manoia. Anybody have a question of some real competition here? Yes. We were all PLOs.
No Time for Sarge.
No time for... Okay, who played his buddy? Who was later in a Godzilla movie? Or, I'm sorry, Ghidorah movie.
The guy who played Johnny, Nick Adams.
Nick Adams, there you go. How does the live streams always devolve into old movies? I mean, it's like models and movies have a connection that you cannot sever.
And it always goes back to who's in a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, really. Just everybody important.
Some kind of a link to a Godzilla.
Uh-oh. Did we go offline? Reconnection successful. I think OBS had a burp here.
Everybody missed everything we just said for the last
Well, that would be to their benefit. Yeah, we had 100. We had 138, then 119, 127. I think OBS may be glitching on us. We've overloaded it with Godzilla trivia. The actor that played Dr. Serizawa was later in another kaiju movie. And I will let the viewers of the channel answer that one. But he played a character with 2 eyes. And I'm telling you, Serizawa would make an interesting... The background story to Serizawa could make a pretty cool movie in its own right. And I've already written that into my my World War II, post-World War II Godzilla movie idea.
Crew change out in the FBI van down the street.
Oh, that is perfect. I like to think I'm that important. We do, Fred, you're right. We do love old movies. But come on, guys, let's be honest. No, hold on. Now, let's get semi-serious for a moment. And I mean only semi-serious. Because semis are serious. I almost got clipped by one the other day.
Greenberry called out PJ Souls.
What?
Greenberry called out PJ Souls.
Called him out how?
I see that.
Greenberry, comment, PJ Souls. He put in there, whoever Greenberry is.
He's the guy that does a lot of the songs. He did the Kitty It, and he does a lot of the music, the parody songs. You know, like I've been finding a scale modeler. That's all to Greenberry. That's Daryl. And Daryl, I want to thank you for that.
PJ played one of the MPs in Stripes.
Really?
She was the blonde. You know, who's your friend? Who's your buddy?
Yeah. Okay. I forgot about that. You know, you forget when these actors go on to be somebody.
At the end of the bed?
Yes, that was her. No,
Barnaky! Barnaky!
The other one. That was Sean, the one who, from Blade Runner. Sean Young. Was the one who popped out of the case.
Blade Runner. You know, that movie has become part of the culture of
Okay, here we go. We're making a slight right turn here.
Wait, I was going to talk about PJ. I'm on my 30th wedding anniversary trip to Canada with my wife, and we're coming back to Seattle. We're staying at the airport because we're flying out the next day. So we're checking in, and they have one of those little digital picture frames on the, you know, where you check in on the counter. And they're having a horror and monster convention in the convention center. And my wife just looks at the thing and says, "Go ahead, I'll finish checking in." So I go down there, and I'm walking through and looking in the booths and talking to and there's PJ. She's got a booth, and she's signing things and taking pictures. And I start talking to her, and, you know, we're talking about the movies she's in, and we're kidding around. And she goes, "What are you doing for dinner?" And I'm like, "Dear Penthouse." And I'm like, Jesus, here I am, my wife upstairs. It's my anniversary. Yeah, well, I'm
bad timing.
And she's like, "Oh, you know, I figured maybe we could go out and, you know, have a couple of laughs." And, you know,
I think she was screwing with you, Steve.
I know. And I'm like, God, lady. So I went up to the room. So I went up to the room. I said, "I'm sorry." I got to the room, and my wife goes, "Why are you in the shower so long?" I was like, "Nah, you know."
Oh, God, overshare.
I would have said something like, "You have no idea how much I love you."
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Steve. I cannot unlearn that.
Yeah, well, you know, neither can I.
So, tell me something, Steve. Which one is she? She's the blonde or the brunette?
The blonde.
The blonde, okay.
The one on the right.
All right.
She's the one in Halloween who got killed in the bed when her boyfriend came up with the sheet over him. She thought it was her boyfriend who went to get her a drink, but it was Michael Myers.
Okay. Guys, I was in the Army for 4 years. MPs do not look, well, maybe one did. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure they know. They look like the one behind, in between the two of them with the glasses on. That's what they look like.
Oh, what is that? I love that song.
That woman from that movie. Oh, shoot. Had Bruce Willis in it. Fifth Element. The one that was in the shower.
Yeah. The one who
that
in the evil. What is that? That series of movies she plays in?
I don't know.
Resident Evil.
Fifth Element. She was supposed to pretend to be his wife on that trip to the cruise ship.
Yeah, Resident Evil. Oh, you're talking about the Germanic lieutenant, captain they had. Yeah.
That's what I kind of picture military female MPs looking like.
Actually, they're a mixed lot, like any other group. But
The kind way of saying they go, whoa, whoa, but, you know.
My wife and I have seen The Fifth Element so many times that we can quote it, and we frequently just go, Lilu Dallas, multi-pass. But
Chair just said multi-pass.
that's Milo Jojovic, but I know the Germanic one we're talking about was supposed to pose as his wife, and that movie. The first time I saw it, I was like, this movie is so weird, I hate it. And I saw it a few more times, and I started to get it, and now I love it. It's one of those movies that's like Napoleon Dynamite. It just grows on you over time.
It's French.
Well, she wound up marrying the director, although that didn't last. Now, the next thing we were going to talk about, oh, great. Now I have to take an intermission. Guys, take a break.
What they knew The Fifth Element was a French movie, explained everything.
I will give you guys an option. I can either mute the sound and run the intro, or I can just put a picture up while I leave for a minute, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves. What do you want to do?
The second one.
Yeah, Steve and I can talk. We'll keep them happy.
Second one.
Okay, I will put this picture up there so Steve can tell more stories about what could have been.
Oh, put that picture of that ship up.
The ship?
Yeah. Do you have it?
What picture are you talking about? There's K9.
One of the
3D model ship.
Oh, yes.
Oh boy, he's had way too much cough medicine.
Yeah.
No, Ken, I forgot. Did I even download that?
No, that's what
my friend named his son Corbin.
Corbin Dallas. Hold on, Ken. I have to. Okay, guys, give me just a second. Okay, go to go to my phone. Wait a minute. Oh, shoot. No wonder I didn't download it. I got the wrong plug in it. Got the power cord in it, not the download cord. All right. And I will talk you guys through the button pushes. Galaxy. And yes, I have an S9. Quit laughing. Let's see. DSIM.
I wasn't laughing.
Somebody out there is. They always laugh at me, Ken.
Dreambetter said you won't cough for a month.
Is that all? Let's see. There it is. Got it. Okay. All right, let's try this.
All right. Hurry up, or I'll start talk about other things.
Wait a minute. Download. Just hang on.
Just
give me a second.
We've lost the crowd.
Yeah,
we're
we're
going off
losing
on
people
other things
fast.
now. Talking about kit bashes and stuff.
Napoleonic kits.
Oh, well, the kit bash is coming up. You know,
James and Spock would laugh.
Okay, hold on. There. Come on.
All right, come on.
I gotta mash buttons here. Okay, open. There you go. You'll see it in about 14 seconds.
Barry says, "Don't feel bad, Max. I've got the S8."
William wants to know how critical is this break.
I almost said it, but I'm not that far gone. Let's
so
just
in the
say.
campus, are you going to have recreational facilities in there?
All right, you guys have it. I'll be back in a minute. I have to refill my cough medicine and get rid of the old one.
That's a nice looking kit.
That's 3D printed.
That's not a kit.
Well, you know what I mean. It's very nice.
It's nice looking model.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool. And I was watching the video on this thing. The guns move. You can take the lifeboats on and off, and the anchor goes up and down on its own chain.
I don't know if I would have, gold, you know, or warship.
Yeah, from World War I. Yeah, it's about 4 feet long too.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Goldfinger ship.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, okay. Y'all wondering what this ship is? This is y'all know I'm into 3D, printing and stuff, because we've talked about it before, and I even built that. I put that P38 together, which was 3D printed. So I've been doing a lot of researching on 3D printing. I'm trying to reprint, by the way, the P38.
There you go. No, that's the actual ship. They just built a big room for it.
When's Godzilla going to attack it?
Attack the ship.
The printers, well, the cheapest one that you could get that would do this would be about $250, but you'd have to play with it a lot. It's better to just go ahead and get a better one, which would probably run about $350. And according to the instructions, it takes 2 reels of material to make it, and each reel is about anywhere between $20 and $30, depending on the quality you get. If you want to get some really good stuff, you could spend $40. But it does take some time to make something like this. Trust me.
I hope this ship docks better than the P-38 landed.
Yeah, well, I didn't do the flying, so you can't blame that one on me. I was just watching. Unfortunately, I told the guy, it's got to come in a little hotter than normal. This thing's heavy. And damn if he stalled it anyway. Oh, well. So hopefully the next P-38 I build will be a little bit lighter and fly a little bit better.
Well, it was great. It was just the landing that was a little suspect.
True. But you know, if you look at the landing frame by frame like I have, you can see it stall. One of the wings dipped, and as soon as the wing dipped, it was all over because he tried to level it out without giving it power. So it's still slowing down. So when it nosed over, that's when it stalled, and you couldn't recover from that. So once you did that,
was the guy flying the P-38 wearing a red shirt?
No. We used resin and PLA. Oh, okay. So you got both of them. Yeah, you can do some nice stuff with resin, but you can't make it very big. But this was, if I remember, this was all done with a what do you call it, FFF printer, the kind that uses the PLA stuff that comes out in a tiny little stream. But the guy did a beautiful job making this thing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It really is.
It really is. Let me zoom in on it just a little bit.
There's another one that I sent you that shows it from a different view.
I only got that one, but all things considered, though, for what it is, it's really nice. And sorry.
Which brings up a question that Steve and I have talked about. Are you done?
Oh, I think so.
Drink some cough medicine.
That was a sneeze, Ken. That's different than a cough. I haven't coughed this whole show thanks to this medicine.
Good. Anyway, Steve and I were talking to this, and he said that he was talking to someone about the future of modeling. And you want to take it from there, Steve? Because I'll just butcher it.
I mean, based upon what the cost of molds are, there's been a big discussion in the modeling community that what's going to happen is that, when 3D printers become a lot more prevalent to the general public, you'll just make files. And everybody will 3D print their kit, the pieces, and then just put it together, which would just be a more modern iteration of how to make parts to a kit.
I think you and I...
The cost comes... What?
You and I were talking about that with Ian over at Hurricane Hobbies.
Right. Which makes all the sense in the world, because the level of detail that you're able to get from the current 3D printers, which will only get better, is very good. I mean, just look at this boat. I mean, if somebody didn't tell you it was 3D printed, you'd say, wow, that's a really nice model.
Yeah, I would say that we got about 10 years before we reach that point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think that's where it's going to go. because the manufacturers will find out that it's actually cheaper than, cutting new molds.
I don't think you'll get completely away from models, but you may get. The thing is that between 3D printing, CNC, making molds, the prices come down also.
Yeah. I mean, you'll always have all the molds that are already made. Because if you take care of them, they last a long time.
I think between all the emerging technology we talk about, I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years you can get a decent mold cut for $5,000.
Possibly. I mean, if you look at the kits that look at Round 2, look at Atlantis, look at Glencoe, they got a lot of old molds. And these molds have been kept well, and the kits that come out of them are really good. So the molds last a long time if you store them correctly and you prepare them to be stored correctly, and you make sure they're polished and they don't corrode.
Here's my my view, my prediction on the future. 10 years from now, Nick Argento at Glencoe, and maybe sooner than that, will be able to take his molds to a shop that will effectively 3D scan them.
Yeah.
Feed the data in the computer. Once it's in the computer, though, they'll be able to make corrections to tighten it up.
Mm-hmm.
Then a CNC machine will cut a block. Yeah, and then he'll be able to shoot the same kits, but crisper and cleaner with whatever mods he wants, much nicer, and it will cost less in relative dollars than the original mold cost by a factor of at least 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Fruit Owl 513 just says real modelers will carve stuff out of wood.
Well, there's an argument about to be made.
Wait. Well, let me tell you something. As we speak, okay, Jim Keeler is carving out of wood a model to have a resin mold made of the Craig Breedlove's Sonic 1 land speed record car.
I will buy one.
Yep. He's carving it by hand. He got the material during the week, and he's been starting on it, and he's making it out of wood. And then they're going to make a fiberglass mold, and then they're going to make resin kits from it. Because he has all the engineering drawings from when the car was new that he took because they were going to make a model of it, and it just fell through.
Yes, but Keeler, and I want you next time you talk to him to tell him I said this. Keeler is the last great master of the dark arts.
Yes, he is. There's a few others that he's friends with, because when I watch some of these videos on YouTube of these guys who make these models out of brass and carbon fiber and all of these exotic materials, and I'll tell him, he goes, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." He goes, "I meet with him once a week, or we go to shows together." I'm like, "Whoa,
You guys have to understand that guys like Jim Keeler, what is Keeler now? 80?
It's like 81 or 82.
Yeah. TD is 85, I think, and of course TD is not really that active in cutting molds or anything anymore. Keeler's still actually active in it, although with his shoulder surgeries, I'm not sure. as many surgeries as he's had, all the problems he's had, I'm glad to see he's still active. But these guys,
he's the bionic man.
Yeah, I have TD's book. He gave me a copy of it about drawing the old school way, and with the French curves and everything. And Mike Machat talked about this on his channel. And Mike is one of the last great masters of the old techniques. And I got to be honest, because it's just guys like Keeler, Daniel, Machat, Kashady, Steele, all these guys, these old artists, they were genuine paint on canvas kind of guys. And those people still exist. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to pretend. But in commercial art, TD's own son does a lot of digital stuff. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, but I'm sorry. But for when Kelly's work is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. but it's just not the same as like a done with the brush. And I know it's just the old fart in me talking, but I mean, Linwood's artwork probably made Revell and Monogram more money, and TD's car designs and everything for his models and stuff. They probably made these companies more money. And it's really hard to put your finger on what it is, but there's a je ne sais quoi about that kind of stuff that just it's a really delicate thing that's hard to put into words. I don't even know if the words describe it, but there's just something in there that touches you right on the tip of your soul that makes you want to buy that stuff and build it and creates these memories. And that's why TD's a legend, and Keeler and Linwood. That's why they're legends today. And
well, if you look at what they have the talent to do, it's the same as people who write and perform music.
Yeah,
they're wired a different way in their head that they can make this stuff.
They truly.
I mean, anybody can paint a picture, but few people can paint a work of art.
Yeah,
And that's what they make, is a work of art that speaks to you and says, "This is real. You want to buy this." And like you said, and I said, and Ken said, and Mike said, and Jim said, it's the box that sells the kit.
Like my younger brother said, when we were kids, looking at all the box art was like going to the movies.
Yep.
They told a story. And by the way, to shift gears here to another subject, Trey, glad you could make it. I jest. So Ken, did you get up with Trey yet? Or cause I get, okay guys, quick story. Trey has an RCP-38 that he thought Ken might like to give it a good home. Ken would like to have it. I gave Trey the wrong phone number and he wound up calling the Jacksonville Hilton. So I sent Trey the proper number and I gave Ken Trey's number, but Ken had to find a piece of parchment upon which to write it because Ken does everything digitally.
And a quill.
And a quill. And the ink bottle. Oh, I spilled my ink upon my parchment. Anyway, so yeah, Trey, Ken's going to take the P-38 from you. Trey's up in Orlando. Ken's in Fort Pierce, but luckily... Dean, Ken's grandson, and Ken, I'm sure you don't mind me sharing this, and if you do, too late, is in Orlando. Ken goes up to visit him, so you guys can get together. And
actually, my wife's up there right now as we speak.
Oh, well, heck, she can meet up with Trey, and then she can just give him them all. He can give her them all. But you know what would be cool, and I'm just spitballing here, if you go up and get up with Trey, and Fran's available, which is Rhonda Fierco in here, but it's that he uses his wife's account. I might truck down and four of us get together and go do something stupid and get in trouble and wind up on the cover of, I don't know, the police blotter.
Do I have to come and bail you out?
Maybe. Because I'm pretty sure if I land in jail, my wife's going to, you're in jail for, she believes in authority, in the government. She's like, if you're in jail, you did something stupid and you deserve it.
Well, there you go. She's a prosecuting attorney.
Oh, God. My wife is a prosecutor. There's a criminal's nightmare come to fruition.
The only thing that would be worse is Nancy Grace.
Yeah,
when I worked for AGFA, the office next to us was a guy who was a private eye, and he had a show on Court TV. And I said to him, "Do you ever do stuff with Nancy Grace?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I do stuff with her." I said, "In the back of her head, is there a switch that goes from stun to kill?" and he cracked out. So one day I'm in the office and he comes in and he goes, come here, you gotta come in here. He brings me in the office and he brings me into his conference room and the guys are there from the Court TV channel. He goes, tell him the thing you said about Nancy. And I told him these guys almost fell on the floor. They thought that was the most hysterical thing they ever heard. I told him, I said, if I was ever brought in for a crime and she was the prosecutor, I would just throw myself on the mercy of the court and say, just sentence me now.
By the way, Ken, Trey is spelled with an E, not an A. He's not a tray table.
close enough.
I've had enough cough medicine. Everything's funny now.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. We have a good time here, don't we? That's what that. I mean, look, that's what all of this is about. All of us have stuff. I mean, I'm trying not to go down the dark path, but all of us have stuff in our lives, and we come here to yammer and make stupid comments with like-minded folks with whom I would love to just get us all together, because I am sure we would have a grand old time. A bunch of middle-aged nerds that love to build styrene and have great ideas that are better than anything that's coming out of Hollywood these days. Oh, God, I made the comment. Sorry, Trey, I want to apologize now for all the comments that are flowing about tray tables.
Ken, do you hear a slight wisp of a Christmas party in the Tarbis next year?
Woohoo!
Ooh, that could be fun.
Mm.
Why do I have to wait till then?
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, this depends on how quick we want Monica to just say you're going back to the old house. By yourself.
Listen, if that house doesn't
He might
sell,
still have it.
okay, riddle me this, Batman. If by some miracle, for some mysterious reason, the old house, which by the way is spotlessly clean now, doesn't sell, dude, we are so freaking having a pajama party, and we're all going to hang out in the old Tarbis. You quit saying it out loud?
The fire's going to be outside. Remember, no HOA.
By the way, yeah, that's
No
right.
HOA.
Neither neighborhood has an HOA. That's why I live there. By the way, guys, Trey, don't forget to go to Trey's Models and check out his videos. He does a lot of great builds. I've actually seen some. I've met Trey a couple of times, and I've seen some of his videos. Actually, he and I got together over at Fran's place, which is Rhonda on the YouTube. But I've seen his builds in person, and he does some super high quality stuff. And that I think. You know, I got to be honest, Trey. I think your best build, at least the one that I was the most impressed with, was your missiles, and for the Ukrainian build. And that he was complaining about some parts he had that whatever, and he had to fix this, and that. Dude, it looks great. But go check out his channel, Trey's Models, TREYZ, and
Yeah. Make sure you spell it right.
Tom says return your trays to the upright position for landing.
You know, it's not like we're going to trade insults or anything.
Yeah.
Apologies, dude. Face it, Trey, you're becoming a celebrity. Just deal with it. Handle it like I do, with a plum, although I have no idea why I would want a plum. But anyway, I like plums. But Trey's being I'm sorry, Trey. You're going to be the victim of every bad simile we can come up with.
Yeah, Max is a little late on that one.
Yeah. We talked about that 30 seconds ago. But
Yeah, you're way back. You're way back there, Max.
that's what cough medicine does.
I'm full of cough medicine.
He just
I'm out
doesn't
of cough
care.
medicine.
He's full of NyQuil, DayQuil, and Evening Quill.
Yeah, Maker's Mark Quill. But anyway.
You know, the next time you see him, you're really going to hear about it.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Do they have that on the bus?
What?
That medicine?
Ice tray. Oh, even Trey put in AKA ice trays. He's getting in on the action. He ain't letting it go. Good on you, mate. Well, since you asked about the Airbus, I have been studying extensively, and
They have a little tube that comes out of the console next to the side of the chair. That's
it's
not really for oxygen.
2001, Ken.
Emergency thirst quenching.
The only thing the crew gets is agua, and since almost I can't mention my company's name because I'm not an official representative. My company only has Pepsi products, so I pretty much just drink water. Yes, my wife and I are both Coca-Cola snobs.
What are they, Greeks?
Yeah, but look, okay, all right.
Don't you
Since
remember
you
that
asked,
Pepsi?
by the way, what you are about to hear is Steve's fault.
Ooh, I like it. Oh, here we go.
Virtually every airline uses Coca-Cola products. Pepsi Cola was desperate to have an airline so they could say they have an airline. My operator, didn't say it, basically got as much of the Pepsi Cola products as they can serve for a generous, let's call it, discount. And of course, it saved my company money. No one says I won't fly that airline because they still serve Pepsi. Except maybe me and my wife. But then we get on for free, so we're going to take company. But anyway, we became Pepsi's first airline. We are still enjoying that relationship today. It saves us a lot of money, and it gives them the prestige of having an airline. There you go. It's business.
So I'm waiting for my fault on this.
You're the one that brought it up. No Coke, Pepsi. Coke, no Pepsi. Yeah. Who remembers that one? No Coke, Pepsi. That was Walter Matthau was their guest host that week. I remember that. Oh my God, I saw that when it aired. Jesus, I'm freaking ancient.
We all are.
We're all. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you a funny story. At the Lowe's store, they have this young girl who comes in who works for DeWalt.
Oh, I know this story. Go ahead.
So she comes in every, 4 or 5 weeks, and she merchandises the DeWalt and Craftsman area because that's what Black & Decker makes, and that's who she works for. Then she sets up a little table, and within the period of a couple of hours, she must sell $10,000 worth of power tools.
Because men are pigs.
Because she is a absolute little doll. So I happened to say to one of the women that managed the department down there, and the girl's name is Molly, I said, listen, maybe you could tell me the next time Molly's coming in so I could be available in case she needs any help or assistance. So she looks at me with a look of frustration and says, all of you guys are alike. She says, you're old enough to be her father. I said, I'm old enough to be her great-grandfather, okay?
Which never slowed down any guy on Earth.
No, but, that's where we're at. I mean, we're sort of on that downward side of the bell curve.
Well, everybody, cheeseburger. Everybody, I love this group because we all have the same memory banks. Cheeseburger, Pepsi, cheeseburger, Coke, Pepsi. God, you could not make that skit today. By the way, OT pointed out that Royal Crown Cola has won taste test over both Coke and Pepsi, and I happen to love Royal Crown Cola. Since that came up, I will bore you with a piece of Southern trivia. I grew up in a town that had its own beverage bottling plant. Now, mind you, we're talking about a town of, back then, maybe 10,000 people. We had something called Double Cola. That was the name of it. And Double Cola was just another cola soft drink. As a kid, I didn't realize that it was just a local brand, that it wasn't a national brand. And it was cheap, and we bought it, and we drank it, and we loved it. And they had these spiral, sort of twisty bottles that were kind of Art Deco. And as a kid, in about the second or third grade, we had a field trip, if anybody remembers field trips. And we actually went to the Double Cola factory, which was about 4 blocks from my dad's hardware store. So, but I was thoroughly intrigued with it, watching how they capped the bottles and poured the soda and everything. Back then, you could have, like Germany has, every town has its own beer factory. Back then, small towns could have their own soda factories. Golden Flake potato chips that I grew up on, had no idea they were just a regional brand. They were right next to the Fritos, I didn't know there was a difference between Golden Flake and, Fritos brand. And, they were different times, man. Back when you could go to a grocery store and buy a model aircraft carrier. I mean, I remember seeing models at the grocery store.
Yeah. In stationery stores, they had them.
If I couldn't find the model I was looking for at one of the 2, 5, and dimes, I went over to Crouch Rexall Drugs, and they had almost as good. Actually, at one point, they actually had a much better. I later learned as time went by. I mean, we're talking about from the 60s, early 70s. They actually had a better selection of models, and they had carried Aurora, whereas the others mostly carried just Monogram Revell. And I saw my first Tamiya kit, and I've been told it's pronounced Tamiya, not Tamiya. I've been told a bunch. By the way, quasi-tangent here. I have a native Japanese coworker, and I have showed her the names of these companies and asked her what's the proper way to say this. And I told her how we say it and everything, and she's explained it to me. But apparently, even in Japan, there's some dialectic difference, and so she was kind of like, I said, we say it like this, but some people say it like that. And she goes, well, both are basically correct. You can say it either way, even though the rules of proper Japanese say you should say it like this, because they don't inflect like we do. Like we say Tamiya or Tamiya, and she's like, no, it would just be Tamiya. There's one monotone way to say it. Tamiya seems to be the way that it would be said there. Hasegawa, Aoshima. In other words, they wouldn't say Aoshima. But then other people say, oh, no, you've got to inflect this. And the owner of the company told me that. And I'm like, okay, I give up. It's just a cultural breach that's not going to be resolved anytime soon. Okay, I'm done.
Did you ask her if any of the metal parts were from the 3rd Avenue L that we sold them during World War II in those kids?
Oh, God. Too soon. Okay.
Okay.
We have 2 more things here. One, well, we actually just talked about it. That was the 3D stuff. So, and the pen got away from me. I have a magic marker with a clicky. So scroll.
Boy, we're down to like the final
my
topic.
sophisticated notes.
Okay. Can anybody hear me?
We all hear you, Ken. That's the problem.
Okay. I had the mute button. I'm sorry. Did anybody remember the Pepsi commercial that had the refreshment dispenser in the cockpit of a fighter?
No.
No, I don't think I remember that one.
It's kind of based on the Top Gun movie. Came out not too long after that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, guys. Help me out here.
The last one I remember was
okay.
the one I remember. The last one I remember is when Pepsi and Coca-Cola, the shipments got mixed up and they went to the wrong place. And the old people got the Pepsi at the old folks' home and they're all dancing. And the young people got the Coca-Cola and they're all like taking naps and playing checkers.
JM remembers. He remembers. He says, yes. Okay. So what happened is his dispenser got stuck and he couldn't pull his can of Coke out of or bottle out of the dispenser. And all the buddies were laughing because they thought, ha, 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 we fixed him. And then he goes, I got it. He does a roll and goes inverted and it pours out into his glass and he just continues on over.
God. No, Ken. The best commercial involving an airplane ever is the Got Milk commercial with the airline captain. Who remembers that one? All you see is the flight attendant. The camera's looking over a plate with a big chocolate chip cookie. And she's walking, obviously pre-9/11, she's walking to the cockpit. Captain, here's your cookie. Thank you, flight attendant. You see close-ups of him eating this cookie. And he goes, stewardess. And he looks around and he wants milk. And he looks around and there's, way in the back of the airplane, there's a galley tray with milk on it. And he's seeing kick off the autopilot and push the nose over. And you see an external shot of the plane pitch over. And it starts rolling down. And you see this close-up of a peanut and it hits it like a chalk and stops. He goes, ah! And he just pushes it over even harder. You see like, and it crushes the peanut and rolls. And Jesse's like, come to Papa! And Jesse's about to do that. Somebody opens the forward lavatory door, wham, and stops it. That is the best freaking commercial ever!
Yeah, that one's good too.
I gotta pee again. All the cough medicine. I'm not going to tough it out. What do we got? Oh, we're already at 8:50, so I'm going to tough it out.
You can do it.
I can do it. It doesn't hurt. God, come on, guys, admit it. We're having a good time, right?
Oh yeah, somebody a little while ago said, "Wow, it's getting close to 9 already. Time flies."
It really does, and we're having so much fun. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to take another break.
Right.
You guys keep everybody happy, and we're going to just keep going as long as we feel like it, because that's what we do on the Max's Models channel. Nah, we don't want that picture. There's nothing.
That's the way we roll. Yep.
Well, Ken.
Okay.
That one.
Not that one.
Okay, TJ McCoy, he remembered the commercial, your milk commercial. I don't. When was that?
God. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that commercial. That one, I like that one better.
Next video, I'm going to have to go find that thing and
that
play it.
that was just sad.
What?
The picture of the empty old Tarvis.
Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart too. You know, somebody asked me, they sent me an email earlier and said, you know, it must have been kind of sentimental when you left it for the last time. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. You know, it's funny. Okay, since we're going there, let's just go there all the way. I just finished yesterday my last day of reserve. What are you snickering?
Jack Fleming said you need a relief tube.
Oh, okay. What movie is this from? Steve Martin. May I go to the bathroom? Yes. Thank you. So I have flown the Embraer 190 1 year as an FO and 16 years as a captain. More time in that airplane than any other airplane I have flown. And my last night flying it, we landed. I knew I had a week of reserve ahead of me, but they didn't use me. My last night, I took a quick snapshot just before I left. And I kid you not, after 17 years in that equipment, I walked away from it with absolutely zero emotion, positive or negative. Nothing. I might as well have been just walking away from any other flight. But when I leave the Tarvis for the last time, I actually do have a little bit of sentiment, because the airplane has just been a job. You know, I didn't pick the airplane. I did it for seniority and quality of life reasons, nothing more. But the Tarvis is something that was built for me, that I dressed out myself, that plastered the inside with every model I built. There's a lot of me in that thing, and a lot of us, I think, because a lot of us, and I've shot most of my videos in there, and it's been my little refuge. And of course, I got the new one once we get all the Imperial entanglements taken care of. And I look forward to it. I'm really excited about the new one. But the old one had... The old one was never planned. It was just something that sort of happened. This whole channel, everything that's happened, this has all been a happy accident and nothing more. You know, I'll give you an example. People talk about how some things, a lot of things are collectibles, but you can't manufacture a collectible. Like people are, oh, buy this designer plate, it will be a collectible. Well, no, because everyone's going to buy it and they're going to store it. So for later on, everybody's going to have one, because a collectible is something that was just a thing we used that over time, most of them disappeared. The few that survived became collectibles because they survived. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like when I moved out and I discovered that comic books were collectible. I called my mom and said, "Hey, Mom, can I have my comic books?" She says, "Oh, I threw those away."
Exactly. And all of us have been the victims of styrene disposal. So that's all I'm getting at, is that I mean, even a lot of the people who viewed the channel have said, you know, it's become a part of their life. Thanks to the magic of technology and the internet, I've been able to share my little corner of the universe, my little 12 by 12 shed and a backyard, in the backwaters of Florida with the world. And it still staggers me. And if I passed tomorrow, I would still feel like I had done something to make the world just a little bit nicer. And that's not a small thing. The acceptance, the pop. I hate to use the word popularity, but it just, this whole thing has just been a happy accident, and you can't manufacture that kind of I don't know, grassroots or whatever you want to call it, and organic, natural, whatever. I'm just thrilled. And I'm glad everybody's having a good time. I'm glad folks enjoy themselves. And if anybody ever catches me getting the big head or getting egotistical, just go ahead and wrap up your fist in a big tight ball and go upside my head one time and keep me straight. Because I don't.
Oh, don't worry. That's what me and Ken are here for.
Well, you guys would do that just for sport. So,
Ken, now it's time to sing Kumbaya.
No, we don't do. Yeah, we don't play that. Well, I tell you what, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. Y'all keep chatting, and I'll be right back.
His eyes are turning yellow.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Okay, number one, you have the con. I'll let you fight over who's number one.
Oh, we all.
I want to know.
When did I become the old guy that grunts every time he gets up?
I want to know when he's going to get lost on the way back from the potty.
He'll make a wrong turn.
Don't laugh. That may not be as far away as you think.
That's why he leaves the thing on the doorknob outside.
Oh, crap.
So he knows what door to go in.
Good call, Steve.
Oh, that's the secret. And you can still hear him. He doesn't even shut the door.
Which is frightening, you know. The good thing is you can bring the phone in with him.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. That would be scary. Oh, by the way, earlier somebody mentioned a video on Netflix about the Pepsi commercial that had the Harrier
jet. Yeah.
Yeah, when a Harrier jet. Yeah, like I saw that. It was hilarious.
Yeah, they should have given them the plane. They won.
They should have.
Yeah. I thought they got robbed. I really did.
And then the judge knew she was writing for posterity because there were going to be other cases like this. She even went through what humor was.
Yeah. Yeah. Not your verdict. That was rumor.
Yeah, he got robbed. He should have got
they got rooked. They should have got the plane or the cash equivalent.
There you go.
You know, because, I mean, they put this out. There was no disclaimer. You know, there was nothing in there that, you know, said you couldn't get it if, you know, they fulfilled all the requirements to get it. They sure got the plane.
What I thought was really ironic and interesting is that towards the end, one of the guys that was the principals at Pepsi, he said that his son was in law school, and he called him up one day, and he was asking, "Did you hear about them trying to sue Pepsi for a jet?" Because yeah, this is one of the test cases in my law class.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they should have got the jet. Really, I think they were right. You know. They did everything they were supposed to do, and they did it.
False advertising, man. If you're going to advertise something for 7 million points, you should honor it, right?
That's a lot of Pepsi to drink, let me tell you. You need a kidney transplant after you drink that much Pepsi.
Well, as it turns out, that you could actually buy the points. You didn't have to actually drink.
Yeah, that's what they did, yeah. Well, it cost them I think it cost them like $250,000 to buy the points.
Something like that, yeah. And they sent him a check. Said, "Here's the check. We want the jet."
Yeah.
Oh well, it would have been interesting if they had actually had to pay for it.
I would have loved to have seen this.
And one of the points that the lawsuit made out says the guy wasn't even wearing a helmet. Well, what the hell has that got to do with it? Oh, I think we lost them. They're all talking about
when they're born.
tinlets and something securely sealed.
Yeah, which are probably rock hard by now.
Oh well, we bored them.
All right, I'm back. The boring part is over.
We were just thanking you after you left that you didn't take the phone with you.
Yeah, that would have been loud, and everybody would have been thinking of waterfalls.
Oh, God.
I'm drinking water now because the party's almost over. Well, thank you, Fred. I appreciate it.
They showed in the commercial was for True Lies.
Oh, wow. We're talking about the Pepsi commercial that was the promotion that if you got 7 million points from Pepsi, you could get a Harrier jet. And these guys did, and they wanted the jet, and Pepsi wouldn't give it to them, and they had to go to court.
Oh, my God. Reminds me when Revell gave away a Jiminy capsule.
Yeah, but they actually gave it away.
Well, they got it from NASA. It was actually a procedures trainer, but it was it's at a museum today. The kid gifted it to a museum, which I think was kind of part of the deal.
You had to give it to a museum near where you lived.
Yeah, which makes sense. But that was I remember as a kid, I wanted that thing so bad. It would have been in my basement. I'd have been in there throwing switches and making call outs.
Can you imagine going to your mom and say, "Mom, I just want a space capsule. Where are we going to put it?"
Basement. You know?
Fortunately, we had a basement, so.
We live in an apartment.
Put it out on the terrace.
That reminds me of that Big Bang Theory when
they won the time machine on eBay.
Yeah, they bought the time machine off eBay and they're trying to get it up the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do with it?
The funniest part of that episode was when they took turns sitting in it, and Leonard turns the thing on, and they all started moving.
Yeah, real fast. Yeah. Yeah, they were all getting into it. There was one last subject I wanted to cover while we are here, and that was just very briefly. We've talked about it on occasion, but that was when the box art started changing. A lot of us remember when they went from these beautiful pieces of artwork to basically just pictures of a build-up. And I know there are some people who said they actually prefer that. They actually like the build-ups better. And
Monogram was the first one who did that.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can blame them. I've heard some people say that, it was a truth in advertising thing, but I think that was an excuse. Apparently it was a lot cheaper, because Andy Anchus did some of the build-ups that were used for Aurora. And apparently they almost always, it's not like, there was Shep Payne who did some stuff. He made a living doing it, but he was a one-off. And Monogram hired him for a lot of stuff. And he frequently got test shots that were shot in weird colors. They had to prime them and cover them and everything. But generally speaking, though, I just don't, for myself, and I'm only speaking for myself, I don't see the build-ups as being superior in any way to the artwork. Although some of the artwork... hold on, let me get this picture straight. Okay. You will notice that a lot of the artwork, especially with Monogram in the later years, just before they went to the pictures of the airplane, got pretty basic. It wasn't the Revell artwork of the 60s with Jack Linwood, that told a story. It's just an airplane against some sort of background. Now, that's not always the case. I think Revell usually had the better artwork. But I was actually personally for myself, I was kind of, the box art with the photograph of the model does show you what you're getting, but I'm not building the model to get reality. I want to see the fantasy, I want to see the image, not a picture of an airplane that's going to end up on my shelf. That's me.
Tough to show a 747 shooting down something, some enemy airplane or something.
Yeah, that's a little too far off the rails. And Paul, you're absolutely right. The artist was about 10 times as expensive as the build-up. Tom Daniels, I think was it TD or who was telling me that back in the 60s, an artist like Linwood would get, God, I want to say it was $600 for the artwork. And you could have some guy who worked on the factory floor as a model builder build it for the cost of the kit and paints. And we laugh, but back then $600 was not a small amount of money.
But that's about what they get now.
God, yeah. Yeah, artists are cheap these days, which I'm sad to say. But the artwork...
See, the big thing is not only do you just get $600 for the artwork, you relinquish all the rights to the artwork.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should mention that, Steve. I got an email from TD. He was talking about it. A lot of people probably are aware that the Tom Daniel era of monogram ended in the early 70s. And I was never really quite sure why, and he sort of illuminated, because we had a viewer that was asking, because Tom Daniel was also big in the model railroads, and he'd written many articles and was well known in model railroad world. And someone asked about this particular layout he did in the 60s and 70s. He actually sent me some pictures. We're probably going to put a video together later on that at some point. But in 73, we had the oil crisis because America helped out the Israelis. The Arabs were mad, so they got OPEC to do the embargo. And those of us old enough to remember the oil embargo, let me tell you what.
They sold a lot of Japanese cars when that happened.
Well, it crushed the kit model industry. And TD was telling me that, and I don't want to overshare here, but I asked him if it was okay to talk about this. And it's a period in his life he doesn't like to talk about for obvious reasons. He lost his house. I mean, the drop in sales crushed his in because he made money off of royalties. He only got a few $100 for the models he did for Monogram. He made his money off the 20-25 cent per kit royalty. And after the prices of models shot up after the embargo, I mean, kit model sales, I didn't appreciate how badly they cratered.
They were non-existent because the price of plastic went through the roof.
A $1 kit was selling for $2-3, which and I remember buying models as I couldn't buy that. I mean, I personally remember not being able to buy a model because I got a 30 cent a week allowance. I had to save up a month to buy a $1 kit. Now it's $2.50. I'm not buying that. 6 months ago that was $1.25. And you multiply that times millions of kids across the country. It was not a happy time for him at all. And it's as much as we love building models, it's still a business.
Wasn't there something of a technological issue with using actual photographs, printing actual photographs as opposed to printing an artist rendition or something?
Not that I'm aware of, but it wouldn't shock me if they use a neutral white background. But my understanding, they hid behind the excuse of truth in advertising, but the real reason is that they were paying $600 for a piece of artwork when they could pay $40 for some guy to build a model and take some pictures of it.
And like you said, the guy who built the model usually worked for the factory.
Yeah, he usually worked in Andy's case, I know he did, and I believe usually they did.
But I got to say, when I worked for AMT Matchbox, I used to get paid to build the models in the showroom for the shows.
Mm-hmm.
And they would pay me X amount per kit, and they'd pay all the, of course, we paid all the stuff, but they would pay me per kit, which was unusual because usually it was just like, well, here's a kit, build it,
But you had to have a bunch of physical models because you weren't just taking a picture that was disseminated. You had
Oh,
models.
no. These were to put in the showroom and to put in the booth for the hobby show.
Right. So they needed actual physical, a bunch of
actual
physical
models. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they needed them done right. One thing about having some guy who works at the factory build one of the photos is, one, there's no royalties. Two, he's probably doing it at the cost of paint and glue. And three, he is that if he has a blemish, you just photograph from a different angle.
We had a guy we used to hire who was an attorney who built models. And we used to hire him to do, I used to do all the cars and trucks. He used to do the military and the aircraft stuff. And he was really good. Because we had so many kits between AMT and the Matchbox kits, it was just ridiculous. How many we had.
Friends talking about they had to keep police at the station to keep people calm. I remember, and I imagine most of the folks watching this right now remember at one point, gunpoint thefts of people were filling up their cars at gunpoint. I mean, they weren't sticking up the gas station. They were sticking up the attendant to fill their car with gas. I remember that happening.
They were also hijacking oil tankers.
Yeah, they were. I remember you could only get gas on the day of the week if you had an odd or an even license plate.
License plate numbers, I remember that too, yeah. And
if it ended in an odd or even number, you could only get gas on Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday, and that was it. And you could only get so many gallons of gas. You couldn't get a full tank.
I remember the 5 and 10 gallon limits, and man, that put the Japanese car makers on the map.
Yep. Oh, let me tell you, they sold. I had a friend of mine who had a Lincoln Continental, a Mark. He turned around and traded it in for a Capri. Because the Capri got $35 to the gallon. The Lincoln got $8. It
was what it was. That was the dark days of kit models. I mean, that's ironically, Monogram had already sold out to Mattel at that point. Mattel took it on the chin because a lot of their stuff was made of petroleum-based products. And, God.
Well, they took it on the chin for everything because all their stuff was plastic.
Yep.
Right
it didn't help that the handlers you got. Mattel really got, what is it, 69 or 70, the 71 that the handlers got popped by the SEC, and they got removed.
They juiced the numbers.
Yeah, and then just a year or two later, the embargo hits. I mean, and Besser and Reeder, rightly or wrongly, had sold out to Mattel in 69, I think.
Like 69, yeah.
And because they looked out and said, we're going to get gobbled up if we don't. We don't want that to happen, so let's hook up with somebody. In the long run, that might have been a good decision, because who knows how they would have fared. Aurora, on the other hand. Huh?
It was also to get operating capital.
Well,
because Mattel was like $1 billion company at the time. So they had plenty of cash. So, they could develop a lot more stuff because they, didn't have to.
But ironically, they're the ones that stifled all development. Just like when Nabisco bought Aurora and Diker took over, they stopped all development. But, they gave up operational control.
They had to. I mean, the problem was Ruth and Elliot fired all of the Monogram sales guys.
That's right. That is exactly what they did.
Okay. That was the first thing they did. And the guys who worked for Mattel, because I was there at that time. I was a young kid, but I was there at that time. They sold based on program. And what that means is they would have a sales program, and they would have a huge order form, and it had all the items, and they'd write the order, and that was it. And there was no going back, for hobbies. You sold at hobbies, you'd sell a guy, so much of this, so much of this, so much of that, and then you'd go back 30 days later and, sell them some more. They didn't understand that concept.
Uh-huh.
They didn't understand the hobby business, and that was part of the problem, was that they didn't know how to handle the hobby customers.
Well, what did you have to take? I mean, if you were a hobby shop and you wanted a Monogram model after Mattel took over, that meant you had to deal with Mattel.
You had the minimums, if you wanted to buy direct, were way too high. Way too high. So you had to buy from a distributor. Uh-huh. So if you were buying from Monogram direct before, you know, the minimums were low. We want,
I got
you know, you bought from a distributor, okay, because the minimum's low, but then the price was, you know, 20% higher.
Okay, I
than
got
buying it direct.
because he has to add his on there. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, he's got to get his in there. So, you know, your price went up, and of course your sales went down. You know, and that just had a ripple effect. You know, one thing is not the thing that slows up the market. It's all interconnected. You know, it's like a ripple effect. I mean, you do one thing over here, and it just keeps going down the line, and it always leads to less sales.
You know, that reminds me of somebody was talking about UPT, undergraduate pilot training here, and I remember in the military when you went to flight school, getting into flight school was like the hard part to get over the hurdle to get selected. When you went to flight school, that was only half the battle, because depending on what was going on in the world, they would tighten or loosen the standards based on how many pilots they needed at the outcome. 30 guys went into a class, the Air Force decided, or the Navy decided, we need 21 to graduate, we need 18 to graduate. Well, if you were number 19, you didn't graduate, but if you were number 17, you did. And you were talking about buying on program, and it kind of reminds me of that. It's like, well, if you want this, you got to buy that. You know, it's like, why not just let it flow naturally? You know, those who meet the standard get through, those who don't. But it's the politics of everything, you know. It just
the biggest problem with business in general is a bunch of people get around in a room and they talk about what they think they should do.
And none of them know.
Most of the people who are in the room are not the ones who are actually doing it.
Uh-huh.
So it seems like it's a good idea, but they're not getting input from the people who do it day to day. And then they come out with, this is the way we're going to do it. And they go, wait a minute, that's not going to work. Oh, yeah, no, that's what we want you to do. Go out and do it. And then it doesn't work. And then you have to play catch up. And then you lose business. And then it costs you more money to try to get it back. You know, instead of including everybody in the discussion, go from there. Oh, nice box.
Well, let me offer something along those lines I may have talked about before. When I grew up, our next door neighbor, Brian Elkins, was the owner of Elkins Ford in Tallahassee, Florida. And Brian also had, in Quincy, my hometown, Quincy, Florida, he had a dealership there as well. Now, Bryant knew, and I'm talking about, I put up the picture of the car because we're talking about auto dealerships here, although we're actually talking more about trucks than cars. But Bryant knew that the farmers, and we were a shade tobacco county and a very, actually surprisingly affluent county, but he knew that the farmers, when harvest time came and they sold all their tobacco, that they were cash rich, and they always came to buy brand spanking new trucks for cash. Okay?
Yeah.
Pretty simple concept. But the people up in Detroit who ran Ford Motor Company, they knew more about the happenings in Gadsden County, Florida, than the people who actually lived in Gadsden County, Florida.
There you go.
So they said, well, you've got to have a floor plan. And it's got to have a T-Bird, and it's got to have a Crown Vic, and yada, yada, or LTD back then. Yada, 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 right? And Brian's like, fine, I'll put out your floor plan. Probably never sell them, but I'll plot them out. But what I need is 75 trucks. Well, no, you're not authorized 75 trucks. But I'll sell 75 trucks. No. That's not how we run things. You get X number of cars, you get X number of trucks. You sell the truck, we'll send you another one. So Brian, being a clever individual, he'd get his floor plan, he'd get his trucks. He would promptly move the trucks off the lot. They're sold. Need more.
Yep.
None of them were sold. He was putting them in the side yard, in the backyard of his house, which happened to be a very large lot because he lived next to us and he rented the house from us, and we happened to have this land behind it. I remember coming home from school and always seeing 40, 50, 60 pickup trucks with the crayon marking they put them on the windshield, 066 or whatever. And he would, as soon as they would hit his lot, that car carrier hadn't gotten over the horizon or rounded the corner before he had drivers putting them in that lot, hiding them. And they go, what do you mean you sold? Yeah, we need more. And they'd actually send representatives out there and go, yeah, there's no trucks on the lot. He got rid of them. And I don't know how the payment system worked. I guess you had a window.
Yeah, you did.
And he would wind up with, had to be 60 trucks. And when harvest time came, they all sold in a week. He literally had people who did nothing but write up the contracts just 8 hours a day. Because they all got their money at the same time. They all went run over to the Ford dealership for a new truck.
Yeah.
He knew the local market, but he could not get those idiots in Detroit who knew more than he did because we got MBAs. And I just, eye roll. And I can only imagine the shenanigans that other car dealers in other cities and other countries have had to pull, because you can't get the snot-nosed know-it-alls at corporate to listen to local knowledge.
Well, what they do is they just swap. In other words, they hook up with a guy who sells nothing but cars. And he's got to take so many trucks.
Yeah.
And you go, here's 10 cars, give me 10 trucks. Because they can trade between dealerships.
Well, they made it work. That's like the fellow that used to give the astronauts the Corvettes for $1. Everybody's like, you're giving away a $8,000 car. He would sell 100 of them because the astronauts had them.
The guy who did that was Jim Rathman, who was an Indy 500
Rathman,
driver.
that's right. He was down here in Florida.
Yep. He was the guy who did that. And he did it, like you said, it was just strict PR. Have people see them driving a Corvette, they're going to want a Corvette.
That's an Austin Healey, by the way.
Yes. You know who had an Austin Healey?
Who?
Walter Cronkite.
Oh. Well, it's no surprise Cronkite had all the money in the world, so. Ironically, Cronkite went into television back in the 40s. All of his colleagues laughed at him. He was one of the few guys that saw what TV was going to become.
Yeah, a lot of guys did not get that vision early on. And the guys who did made beaucoup money.
Yeah. Well, pays to be inside.
For back then, oof. I mean, when Jackie Gleason signed to do with CBS to do the Honeymooners, this was like in the mid-50s, because he was on the Dumont network.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him $11 million.
Wow.
You know what that translates to today?
That'd be about $110 million.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, here's your trivia question. What's the only actor from that series that actually negotiated residuals into their contract?
Art Carney.
Nope, Audrey Meadows.
Audrey Meadows. Yeah.
She was the only one that saw it because they all thought, it airs one time and it's over. She goes, no, they're recording it. They might air it again later. And she lived off that for a while.
Well, did you ever see the joke with the two astronauts on the moon, and there's a skeleton in a flowered dress, and they go, "Hey, it's Alice Cramden."
It's Alice Cramden.
To the moon.
Yeah.
The one I like, I even have it on my phone, is the one where the astronaut's on the moon and he sees the Viking ship. He goes, "What? Seriously? Effing Vikings?"
They went everywhere, man.
Well, guys,
the best thing about shows like The Honeymooners, Sergeant Bilko, you know what they're going to say, and it's still funny.
It's because that back then, a lot of these guys have been vaudevillians, and they understood live theater and just it was an art. Unfortunately, and don't get me wrong, we have a lot of great artists today. I don't want to malign them. There are a lot of great actors, a lot of great writers and directors. But today we have, unfortunately, a great deal of the cultural zeitgeist being forcibly injected into art. And I hate it.
Bunch of diehards.
God bless them.
Still got 100.
Yeah, they're
112.
got the inner Bruce Willis there. Whoa. Okay, I'll just elbow my little statue here because that's what I do because I'm a clod.
Don't knock over the cough juice.
Yeah, well, it's all gone. I've been drinking water for the past half hour. There we go.
Mike.
It's be getting tossed away because those of us who can appreciate what they are going to kind of age out, and then you'll have another generation that has no association with models, and very few people will appreciate them at all. And that's sad, but I guess that's the way it goes. Steve, you got a bunch of Lesney models still, right? A bunch of their stuff.
Yeah, I do. I have some of the real old stuff, and I have some stuff from the '70s, but mostly from the '50s and '60s.
Right.
I mean, that was my favorite. That was my favorite toy growing up, and I was fortunate enough that was my first real job when I got out of college.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool gig. I mean, if when I graduated high school, somebody had told me that I could go work at Monogram or Revell, I wouldn't even ask if it was sleeping on the floors. I'd have gone. But you have to remember, as a kid, of course, we're on pre-internet days. When getting a package was like Christmas.
And then we bought AMT.
Yeah.
Which was like just adding, gold to gold.
Yeah. But to me, places like Venice, California, where Revell was at, or Monogram up in Morton Grove, there was like like Mecca,
There's condos there now, where Revell was.
You're killing me. Yeah. You're killing me, small.
Meanwhile, I have, you talk about Lesney. I have in the '70s, in like '77, New York City did a test. They bought Routemaster buses from England, which was what we made the number 17 Matchbox car, was the Londoner bus.
Mm-hmm.
And they
I remember that. I had one of those.
Yeah, and they painted them, blue, and they tested them on Fifth Avenue because they thought it would make sense to have a double-decker bus because you could put more people in it. So I got the bright idea that we should have Matchbox buses made up with signage like that and sell them to the city, and they could sell them like as a promo. So we had two of them made up, and I went and presented it to them, and they thought about it, and then they decided they weren't going to do the buses because it didn't work with the trees and the street lights, and they would have to move everything. So I have the only two that there are. And like my son used to say when we lived in the old house, and he would come down and stand about 3 steps off the bottom and look around at everything I had in the basement and said, "Yep, when you're dead, this is all going on eBay." And I used to tell him, and that's great because you have no idea what any of this is worth,
Or what it will
But he's
be
changed
worth.
his mind now, hasn't he? No. I thought he told me he decided he's going to hang on to some of it.
Well, he came down, now that it's sort of, a lot of it is displayed, he goes, you have some really cool stuff here. I was like, oh, thanks. You thought it's not just junk that I had in the basement? No, some of the stuff is really cool.
One man's junk's another man's treasure.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up for the night. I cannot thank everyone enough, especially the 99 diehards that are still here. I'm glad. I hope you had a couple hours of fun, blew off whatever stresses are in your life for a little while, got your escape in, and a bunch of us middle-aged old farts running around talking about the good old days and what's to come. It's kind of sad in a way that the things, but it's part of our memory. I mean, I can't be upset with a 19-year-old for not appreciating something he never experienced. So it is what it is, and we deal with that as it goes. I really would like if I could do one thing before my time ends, and I know you guys, most of you probably already know that we lost a family member recently. I got to go to the viewing and the funeral tomorrow. I'll be gone for a couple of days, be no content, but 2.5 years older than me, so it's it is. I really, genuinely thank the universe for when and where I was born. I really think we won the lottery on that, and we had the coolest toys, and we still do, and we have the good appreciation to realize it, or the good sense to real appreciate
I
it.
couldn't agree with you more.
So on that note, I will wish everybody well. I'll loop the intro video so you guys can chat amongst yourselves. The few hardcores that want to. Well, we're back up to 101. Somebody signed back on. But guys, I'll let you say your nights, and then I'll shut us down for the. I'll loop the outro for about 10 minutes so you guys can chat. Guys, anything before we go?
No, I'm good. Right? Yeah, had a lot of fun.
All right, say your good nights, and we'll sign off.
Good night, everybody. Glad you have me.
Guys.
Good night, guys, and as always, model on.
Still don't know what I was waiting for. What time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I'd got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse how the others may seem fakers, but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to go up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. Changes are taking the place I'm going to. So turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get older. Time may change me. I can't trace time. You say that time may change me. I can't trace time. Oh. Still don't know what I was waiting for. What time was running wild, a million dead-end streets, and every time I thought I'd got it made, it seemed the taste was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse How the others may seem fakers, but I'm much too fast to take that test. So turn and face the strange changes. I don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. Watch the ripples change their tides, but never leave the stream warm and permanent sing. So the days flow through my eyes, and still the days seem the same. And all those children that you spit on as you try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware what you're going through. So turn and face the strange changes. Don't tell them to grow up or out of it. Changes. Where's your shame when you left us up to our necks in it? Times may change me, but I can't trace time. Strange fascination fascinate me. And changes are taking the place I'm going to. Turn and face the strange changes. Oh, look out, you rock and roll